Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else in between, I'm Ashton Gene Lewis. This is the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. One of us is not a broke boy anymore. There's
Close
three
to it.
people on today's show right now. One of us is not a broke boy. The other one is me. And
Yep.
the other one that I'll mention, introduce her right off the top, Carolina Tar Heel. Am I right on that one, Brooke?
Yes, 100%.
Formerly of the Oklahoman, formerly of the Kansas City Star. I'm sure she enjoyed her time there with the literally people petitioning to have her removed from the newspaper that one time, which was a ton of fun, I'm sure. But currently working for ESPN, NFL Nation, covering the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. It is Brooke Pryor, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, Brooke?
I'm not bad. I mean, I realized I'm formerly of a lot of places, and then I'm pretty lucky that I am covering the only undefeated team in the NFL, which it doesn't feel like that on a week-to-week basis because most of their games come down to the very last play of the very last possession, and just
how did you know that's
my
what we wanted to talk about, Brooke?
It's because it's the only thing that there is for this team. It's like, oh, you cover such a dominant team, and it's like, no, not really. Their record says that they're dominant. Their games say that my heart rate is 125 beats per minute, sitting on my couch, doing literally nothing but typing. It should be like around 80, 90, if a little bit elevated, but like into the Cowboys game, hand to God, it was 125 beats per minute, and my Apple Watch was like, you should go to the ER. And I was like, no, I just need this game to end.
Did you have like a headline written out already for that game, or what was the roller coaster ride for that one?
It was what were they down for most of that game, and then they came back in the second half. It's like when they're down by that much, from a purely work standpoint, you're like, all right, if you could just, whatever is happening in the first half, or at least through the first three quarters, if you could just continue, that'd be great. Like if you're going to lose in the third quarter. If you're going to win in the third quarter. Obviously, from a fan perspective, no, go all the way to the end. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
From a workflow perspective, I'm like, man, I would love to do some pre-writing, get my angle ready to go, have it ready to go at the buzzer. That 3-week stretch between the Titans, the Ravens, and the Cowboys, I literally had completely deleted my game story by the end of the game and wrote it from scratch at the buzzer. So thank God I can do a write through, and there's no evidence of that first draft anywhere online. Mm-hmm. There is in my Google Docs, and I have to live with that shame.
No, Brooke, what you really should have been doing is, of course, naturally having 3 different stories and writing all 3 of them at the same time from the 3 different angles, and then just send them all to the editor and be like, one of these is right. You let me know which one it is. Good luck with that.
Maybe I'll do that this week against the Jags, because this has all the hallmarks of a trap game. Even if Mike Tomlin does not believe in them, the universe believes in them, 100%. And I'm prepared for something crazy to happen in Jacksonville. The same way that I was kind of prepared for something crazy to happen in Dallas, because that's just the way the Steelers season is going.
It made too much sense for them to go in there and cruise on them. It didn't make – and, of course, like we said before, Garrett Gilbert has that effect on football games. That's why he obviously is the Cowboys starter.
Obviously.
Hey, they might have Andy Dalton back this week, by the way.
Yeah, no – oh, wow, yeah. Man, you want to talk about a guy who's having a rough year. But, Brooke, we start off here. This is my first actual question. I'll start here. Are you basically guaranteeing a Super Bowl win by showing up in Pittsburgh? Because Kansas City show up. 1 year, boom, Super Bowl.
True.
Been covering the NFL for 2 years, and now we're in Pittsburgh.
That's true. So I don't. For Pittsburgh to win a Super Bowl, I have to leave. That's actually the recipe, because I was in Kansas City the year before they won, and then I left and they won. So as soon as I leave Pittsburgh, then the Steelers will win. And now I'm sure there's going to be a petition to fire me from ESPN just so the Steelers can win another Super Bowl. No, I think that this is I think this team has a good shot at least making a deep run in the playoffs. Like I'm not ready to crown, my Super Bowl projection. Even though we're in week 11, I'm not there yet with the Steelers. Like I could be there. I could get there. The Bengals game was a step in the right direction, I don't know that I'm right. That I'm ready to say this is going to be their seventh super. I think it's their seventh. Yeah, the Stairway to Seven. That's like the theme of this year. I'm not ready to call it yet, but they are moving in the right direction.
So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Brooke Pryor will officially be resigning prior to the season ending.
Well,
thus
hopefully not with the way everything's going right now over there at ESPN. But one of us on this show called Pittsburgh winning the Super Bowl from the very beginning, so I got to pat myself on the back really quickly as my Super Bowl pick.
That's pretty good.
I picked Steelers Cardinals before anyone else got on the Cardinals bandwagon, so I got to gloat every time. We're in sports, covering sports. You got to gloat when you get things right so far, right? You know what I'm saying?
I will say that we're both still in the running because my Seahawks Chiefs prediction is still very much alive. Also, I move on to my next question here. Brooke, how long until we start having the conversation? Until we start talking about how there's still a 0 next to the on the undefeated streak? How long until we start making the conversation that it is literally against everything in every fiber in sports about the undefeated season? We all got bamboozled because recently we have a whole generation of football fans that saw that you can mess it up at the finish line of all finish lines against with the Patriots and the Giants. But at some point, somebody's got to be the one to bring it up.
I don't think I would be comfortable saying the Steelers are going to have an undefeated season until they play Game 16 and finish Game 16. Because of how these games have gone, because it seems like with the exception of the Browns game and the Bengals game, there has just been some level that is they can't quite finish it out or they can't quite start on the right foot. It seems like they can't put 4 quarters together. They have flashes where they look like this really, really good team, but I don't trust them enough to put them in the conversation of, hey, this could be a 16-0 team. I would like to. It would be way more fun from my perspective, but I'm not ready to call it yet. I think that it would literally take until the last game to be like, yep, you know what, they got it. Because we could get to the final game of the season, a rematch of the Browns, and the Steelers have nothing to play for except an undefeated season, and the Browns are excited to pull an upset any chance they can, and maybe they're trying to get into the playoffs with one of those wild card spots if the Ravens keep sliding, and that would be a really intriguing matchup. I know the Steelers just demolished them the first time around, but the second game would be in Cleveland. We said the Browns could have more to play for than the Steelers, so I would have to wait a very long time to be like, you know what, maybe this could be a 16-0 team.
And to your credit, on that final game of the season, Big Ben is going to be playing for something that's very important. The best winning percentage in that stadium for a quarterback ever. Because
that's the most important stat.
I'm just saying, he's got it on his mind, and he does. He's the ultimate competitor. He's just like, he's like, this Baker Mayfield kid's all right, but like, I'm me. I can't let him have anything,
true.
bro.
All right, Brooke, my first official question. This is one I ask for all our guests that we have come on the show. When did you fall in love with sports and know that covering it is something that you wanted to do with your career?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I talked to a high school class earlier today, a little bit in that same vein. I think I knew that I was in love with sports when UNC won the 2005 national championship game against Illinois. That's probably like, I was like, I would have been like, 14 at that point, 14, 15. So it's not like my first sports memory, but this is so embarrassing. I still have these newspaper clips, but I would like cut out stories from UNC season and put them on my wall in my room. It was not like aesthetically pleasing by any means. It was literal like news copy on the wall with like the blue tacky stuff. And like when the postseason came around, I like cut out the big posters of the brackets and the UNC preview and everything. I lived in Winston-Salem, so they were one of like the local teams and they would have big UNC spreads. And when UNC won and beat Illinois, my teenager self wrote all over the newspaper clippings, I heart Sean May. I heart, like, literally every single member of the team. It is so embarrassing to think about, but that's when I knew, like, I love sports. I watched every minute of that game. I was such a huge fan. And it was weird, a couple of years ago, I interviewed Sean May when he became an assistant coach at UNC in the locker room. I think it was the 2016 Final Four run. And man, that was a really surreal moment. Like, I don't think there's very many people that would get starstruck by Sean May, but like some part of me, like the 13-year-old, 14-year-old me was just like, whoa, this is so cool. It's Sean May. And then as far as realizing that I wanted to cover it, I mean, I went to school at UNC. I joined the Daily Tar Heel because I wanted to do yearbook, and they were publishing back editions of the yearbook from like 2 years before I got to school. And I was like, I don't want to work on a yearbook for people I don't even know. But I like sports and I like writing, so I'll try the student paper. And at some point I realized that the access and the experience you get as a sports writer, being behind the scenes, going into the locker room, getting to talk to the coaches, is just so much cooler than being a fan, at least from my perspective. Like, I wanted to learn everything I could about these guys, and what they were doing on the field or the court was cool, but like, I want to know what your backstory is. Like, how did you end up here? Why was this game emotional for you? Why do you have this name written on your shoe? Or who's the first person you're calling afterward? And then I want to be able to tell people what they're going through and convey that story. And at some point, I don't know that there was ever like a, hey, I'm going to do this as a career thing. Like, I really just kind of fell into it, and people kept, giving me jobs or saying, hey, that story doesn't suck. And I was like, well, like, I guess maybe I should do this full time. Like,
there we go.
So far, people like these stories. I like telling these stories. So as long as somebody is giving me a platform to do that, I'll keep doing it.
That's
so
awesome.
I have to ask, you talked about being starstruck by Sean May. Was it a career highlight to meet Bougie?
Yeah, 100%. My friend pointed out actually that was a year ago, like last week, I think. The story published November 14th, 2019. I know that because it's my pinned tweet, and she responded to it today. Yes, I'm a huge dog person. I have one of my dogs is at my feet right now. The other one is in the kitchen. I freaking love dogs. Bougie is a cool dog. My dogs are boarded at the same place that Bougie gets boarded, and it's my dream.
No way.
Look on the little camera and see them playing, which would never happen because Bougie's in the small dog room and my dogs are in the big dog room. But one day, it was really cool. It was, and like the coolest thing though was that at the dog park, nobody was treating Juju like he's a superstar. Nobody was like, man, like, let's talk about that game, or let's talk about how cool you are and how much of a fan people are. He was literally just like Bougie's dad. Just like, this is Juju. His dog is Bougie. Bougie is playing over here. Like, if Bougie poops in the dog park, Juju's still got to go pick it up. He doesn't like have an assistant to go do that. It's just kind of crazy. It was just like a normal, dog park routine kind of thing. It was awesome.
No, I had to ask just because, like, Bougie is probably, one of the most famous Steelers of all time. I know he's not on the team, but like, in terms of roster and like proximity to the team, he's got like 2.1 million followers on Instagram, I believe it is. So if we correlate that to fame, Bougie is probably the most famous Steeler-related player or personnel related to the team. Go ahead, Martin.
Oh no, we're talking about dogs right now, but my cat is just jumped up on the table and is trying to make a claim for the most famous internet star that's an animal, but she's messing with my camera as well. So we're having fun over here. So one of my fun questions that I've got, and you mentioned going and kind of growing up in North Carolina. What makes the Tar Heel blue the best color in all of sports?
Oh my gosh, that's like the best question I've ever been asked. Carolina blue is my favorite color. It was one of the prominent colors at our wedding last year in 2019. It was Carolina blue and baby pink, but of course I was like, no, it's like a sky blue. It's definitely not Carolina blue because my husband's a big South Carolina fan. Okay. I think that it's a great color because the sky is Carolina blue, which is such like a homer thing to say. But like I don't know, there's just something they make it look so tough, like you're beating people up while you're wearing this like really pretty shade of blue. And I just think there's something just like so dominant, and just the juxtaposition of that is cool. Plus, like the football uniforms with the navy pants are like the freaking best. I love those, and with the Argyle accents, like, oh, I love it. I'm looking right now. I have a bobblehead of Matt Harvey from when he was playing at UNC. I've got that in my like backdrop for ESPN hits that mostly gets like overshadowed because the camera doesn't go down far enough. But I'm just looking at that blue. I'm like, gosh, that's just such a cool uniform.
Oh, so you didn't go with the fake bookshelf backdrop motif for your ESPN hits?
Did not.
Okay.
No, mine is very, very real. It's on, I would say, the lower half of ESPN backdrops. Like, I don't have books that I've written that are part of it. I have Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Solid
okay. Time out. Hold on. Question. So I play Quidditch.
That's awesome.
Did you actually enjoy that? The Cursed Child? Did you see it in theater?
No, so I have not seen it performed. I've only read the book. I enjoyed it because I went through a theater phase as a kid where like I read a lot of plays, right. So I appreciated it from that angle. I mean, it wasn't as good as the regular like narrative stories, but
Brooke,
it was a fun dive back into. Right, it was just a fun like rechanneling my childhood thing.
Gotcha. So we move on from the backdrop. First of all, did you get rated by that Twitter account that rates people's Zoom backdrops or anything?
No, not yet. I really, really want to. I'm doing a hit on Thanksgiving, hopefully. I mean, the schedules always change, but I'm supposed to tape a hit for the Thanksgiving 7 a.m. Sports Center. And when it comes out, I'm going to tweet at the Room Rater account and be like, please, for Thanksgiving, all I want is for you to rate my backdrop.
Right. No
See,
doubt,
what you need to say is, I'll be thankful, so go with the Thanksgiving theme. So I'll be thankful if you give me a rating. Play into it.
Joke alert. Anyway.
I'm going to go ahead and just put that in my drafts to attach a photo to and have that ready to go.
Yep.
So, Brooke, this year's different for a lot of reasons, but football is different. How, as a beat reporter, has it been? I saw the photo of you hitting the double zoom the other day after the game, literally in 2 Zooms at one time. I'm assuming it's because they had 2 people up at the podium trying to get through these media press conferences and everything at the same time, which, of course, brilliant. If you want people to actually get quotes from athletes, or if you're trying to hide a certain one, just put 3 people up at the same time and assume that the writers are not going to be able to catch up with the quotes. Brilliant idea on the part of the Steelers. But this season as a whole, what has it been like? I know last year was just like a roller coaster ride all the way to the Super Bowl, and being with the Chiefs for their ride for the rise of one of the greatest quarterbacks we could be witnessing of our time. What's the difference between this year and last year?
So it's interesting because I was actually with the Steelers last year. So my first day on the job was the Sunday night game against the Patriots where the Steelers lost. And then the next week Ben gets hurt. And one of the reasons that I took the job at ESPN was because I was thinking like, all right, well, this is one of the most stable franchises in sports. I mean, we've got Mike Tomlin's been here forever. Ben's been here forever. The GM's been here forever. And then Ben gets hurt, and I was like, well, there goes that. And then Tomlin's maybe on the hot seat, and I'm like, no, please, no. Like, I don't want to go through this. And
it's wild how Mike Tomlin went from the hot seat to should have been, like, in my opinion, coach of the year based off of what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So going just from that, where like we have the Mason Duck thing back and forth last year to this year, Ben is back. I have written so much about his elbow. I know more about his elbow than I know about my own elbow. It's been a lot of fun. But I wish that we weren't doing it on Zoom. I mean, I'm sure everybody thinks that, but it's really hard when you're used to going in and working a locker room. And this is a year where last year I spent most of the time like trying to build relationships and trying to lay the foundation for getting to know a lot of the guys in the locker room. And I finally feel like I'm at a place where maybe I have a better relationship with some guys than others. And there are guys that I would go to and trust if there's something tough that we need to talk about. And I think, great, I can go over to this locker, go over to that locker. And now it's like, nope, I'm going to talk to whoever they give me a Zoom for. I was telling the high school class earlier today, there's a lot of social media stalking. For better or worse, there's a lot more of having to rely on Instagram stories to see what's going on in the locker room. Steelers are playing a lot of spike ball. It's really cool. If we were in the locker room, we'd get to see that. Like we saw them playing Bino last year, and that was cool. I did a whole story on that, but I can't be in there to see the dynamic and that stuff. So that's the hardest thing, is I just miss the personal relationships that we could have with guys, and I have to rely a lot on the groundwork that I laid last year, which is tough to do when it's my first year on a beat and you're still like trying to feel things out. I wasn't there for training camp. There were just so many things that, it was very much a baptism by fire situation. And this year I'm like, great, I can catch my breath. I'll get to know some people, get to know the front office a little bit better. Went to the combine, met some people there, but I was also like sick the majority of the time, like couldn't go out and network. I was like, it's fine, we'll get back to Pittsburgh, I'll do it there. And then it's like, nope, it's the pandemic and you're going to be at home and you're going to have to just follow guys on Instagram and hope that you see something that somebody else doesn't. So it's
gotta check those likes. Gotta stalk those likes on Instagram, no doubt.
But really, isn't that what we all got into journalism for? Is just to look at likes and follows and.
They think they're slick. They're just like, I don't follow that hot chick, so they can't assume that I know her. And it's like, no, we know.
Well, the other thing is, if you don't know like a lot about Twitter, there's a whole like you will miss the fact that your likes on Twitter go out to everybody. Like you can literally see everybody's likes. And so, if you don't know, you don't know. My question with COVID and everything that's been going on this season, what have you been doing personally to try and stay positive through it all? And everybody's kind of been downtrodden and it's tough times in the business, especially with the things going on with ESPN. So how are you trying to stay positive through everything?
Yeah, it has been interesting, and my husband and I joke a lot because I've dragged him all over the country. When we started dating, we were in North Carolina. A couple months later, he moved me out to Oklahoma, and then he moved to Oklahoma. We were there for a year and a half, and then we moved to Kansas City. And so we have been all over the country. We don't have necessarily close friends every place. Like we don't move to Oklahoma and instantly have a group of friends that we're always hanging out with. So when people were complaining about how hard it is not to see their friends, he and I looked at each other and he was like, you know what? Some of you haven't moved across the country from all your friends and family, and it really shows right now. We, I think, are maybe managing this better than some people because we're used to just relying on each other, and like it's having him around has been so great. He works at Pitt, but he's been working from home. He's in academic advising, so his space is up in the attic. That is his office, his video game space, everything. So when he needs to get away from me, he goes up there. But we've got each other. We've got our dogs. I've been reading a lot of books. I have a lot of group messages with friends. So I almost, in a very weird, dark, twisted way, I feel like I've been training for isolation for the last couple years because I've just had to move all over the country and, I spend a lot of time at home. I spend a lot of time working, and I'm perfectly fine sitting on my couch on a Friday night and reading a book. And we're actually probably more social now that we're in a pandemic because we have a group of friends in Kansas City through one of my friends I made there. We do a game night every Friday night. We do Jackbox, and we do it for like 2.5, 3 hours. It's so much fun. And these are people that I didn't even know in Kansas City. Like I knew one girl, and then we had a mutual friend, so she's on there. But it's like a group of 7 of us, 7 or 8, and I knew 2 of them before this started. So it's been kind of cool just to see how the pandemic has brought me closer to certain friends and certain friend groups, even though we're not in there. They don't live in Pittsburgh and we don't see them. It's helped so much.
Random question: what's your favorite Jackbox game? Because I too play every week. We've been doing virtual games and stuff.
I think so. We always end on TKO. That's like the last one every night. And there are many nights that I can't make it to TKO because most of them live in Central Time or they're on the West Coast.
Right.
So we start at like 8:00 Eastern, and I'm like, cool, 9:30, it's my bedtime. But I really like Quiplash.
Yeah,
that
Quiplash
one is my favorite one.
The Quiplash and Murder Mystery are my favorites.
Oh yeah. Last week we did a whole set dedicated to Alex Trebek. So like the majority of the games we did were all trivia games.
That's awesome.
R.I.P. to the legend Alex Trebek. Also, we don't worry, Brooke. When things go horribly wrong for the East Coast in terms of timing, like double headers on Monday Night Football, we definitely say we pour out for we pour out for our East brothers and sisters out there that are struggling in media because they got to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Central time zone, best time zone.
Best time zone.
God, it really is. We miss Central time zone so much.
So I got 3 questions here. They should be quick, and then I think Martin's got one more. His is a little bit more serious, so I'll ask my goofy ones right off the top. When they canceled the bye week, how pissed were you?
Oh my God, I was so mad. I'm like, I get why. I understand, like, COVID sucks. We're all being impacted by it, but the bye week for the Steelers this year was actually on my birthday, and I have literally never had my birthday off since I became like a professional sports writer. Like, I've always been at a game or like traveling, like there's always been something. So I actually had a cabin rented in Vermont, and one of my best friends and I were going to go up. We're going to stay at this cabin. It's going to be peak foliage. I have family in Vermont that was like 30 minutes away, and we booked the one that we booked because it was fully refundable, like service fees and everything. And sure enough, we had to cancel it. So I was pretty sad. I was so excited, and I was like, of course this is gonna happen. Like, it's 2020. Like, don't get your hopes up about anything. Just roll with, as Mike Tomlin says, like, have a plan but be light on your feet. So I'm channeling my inner Mike Tomlin.
That's why
I was gonna say really perfect segue into my next question.
Go for it, Ashton.
Mike Tomlin, his Tomlinisms. Do you understand them? Because I need help. Like, sometimes they make perfect sense. He's like, if we got red paint, we're going to paint the barn red. And I'm like, you got to work with what you got with. That was the theme of last year for the Steelers. But like the Tomlinisms, like, do you get them? Because at some point, Mike Tomlin's probably just going to become like a life coach for everybody. And I'm signing up for it. Like, I don't know. He's going to make my life better.
I mean, the one that makes the least amount of sense now, there was one about like, you can't put the Jell-O back in the box or something. And it was like,
yeah.
What does that mean?
Toothpaste back in the tube. Yeah.
Yes, but like, who's ever used Jell-O as the excuse there, or as the thing that you can't put back in the box? I mean, no, like, I guess if you spill just the grain of it, you could like sweep it back and put it in the box. But if you go through the process of making it, then you can't put it in the box. But no, like that Jimmy Fallon thing that he posted this morning where he had players just drop in random sentences. Now that I've seen that, it makes me wonder, like, has Fallon been telling Tomlin things to say to see if we'll believe that it's a new Tomlinism? Like, I'm questioning it, like the Jell-O thing. How many things has, like, Fallon or maybe his wife been like, you know what, you should say this, and see if they believe that it's one of your, like, mantras or life lessons? I would not be shocked.
Need it on a t-shirt for a Christmas present. Just print one out for everybody, and they totally won't understand it. It'd be a great Christmas present. Last one, and then Martin's got the big, like, loftier question about the world that we live in now. Who's having the most fun on the Steelers? Like, our guy Ola, we used to cover Fort Bend ISD Sports, where Ola's from, when he went to Bush High School and stuff like that. He seems like he's having a lot of fun. He almost had a sack on Daniel Jones, and he bear crawled for it and didn't get it or whatever. But for the most part, it seems like he's having a lot of fun. But who's having the most fun?
That is easy. It's Eric Ebron. He is just the most energetic, like, he's kind of the anti-Steeler in a lot of ways. When you think of how this organization has been historically, they're like quiet guys that go to work, that put their head down, they're gritty. Eric Ebron loves to like trash talk. He is loud. He has a huge personality. He has like Juju's personality as far as like dancing and stuff, but then he adds on the top on top of the fact that he like trash talks and is loud. And like, I've known Eric since we were in college, and I covered him when he was playing at UNC for a little bit. So we like corresponded a little bit. I'd seen him at a Pro Bowl before. So when he signed with the Steelers, like, I was super excited, but I also didn't entirely know what to expect, because I thought I would have that with Ryan Switzer, and Switzer's just a quieter guy. He doesn't have the just like in your face of Eric Ebron. And my 2 favorite moments with Ebron this year, during training camp, one of the first days we're out there at Heinz Field, I mean, it's like silent because the Steelers don't play music at practice. And again, this is where Ebron, like, he's even said, like, I wish we'd play some music, but Ben doesn't like music, so they don't play music. Ebron, as they're coming out on the field to stretch, looks up in the stands and sees me and goes, "Hey, Tar Heel! Hey, Brooke! Hey, Tar Heel!" Which then everybody turns and looks at me, and I was like, "This is really cool, but also a little bit embarrassing, but also really cool." And then he also, when we do post-game Zooms, the standard line from PR is like, "All right, everybody, we've got Eric Ebron here. Please remember to raise your hands, and I'll call on you. Okay, we'll go with Mark." And Ebron, by the way, the whole time is like demonstrating, like raising his hand up, like, "Here I am, raise your hand." And when Michael, after the Cowboys game, called on another guy, Mark Caboli, to go first, Ebron says, "What, Brooke's not first?" And Michael was like, "No, she didn't get her hand up first. Sorry about it." And he's like, "Oh, man." And it just like, he's just having so much fun. And everything he does, he's never been on a team that's been this good in college or the pros. Like, the Lions were never this good. The Colts had their moments. He made a Pro Bowl, but like, he's never been 9-0. And I think he is just having so much fun being with the team this good. And it just, I don't know. I think that he is somebody that fans, I think, are really, really going to like. And it's going to help more when they can have more access to them and it's not, distanced because of COVID. But
Right.
I think that he's definitely very, very much enjoying everything going on.
Yeah. So, Brooke, before I get to my last question, you mentioned the dancing, you mentioned Juju. How much time does he put into the touchdown celebrations and the TikTok dances that he is basically getting hundreds of thousands of likes for?
I mean, I don't know an hour figure, but it's not a short amount of time. Like, I would be curious to know how much he's like actually practicing. Like, I'd like to see his TikTok drafts, because I feel like he has at least gone through the motions a couple times before you roll them out on Sunday. Because if it flops, like, that's gonna be everywhere.
For sure.
That's way more embarrassing than doing like an elaborate dance and having people be like, "Well, are you practicing that more than football?" Like, if you have just a crappy touchdown celebration, that's not good, especially for somebody that's so big on TikTok and stuff. So I would guess that there is a good amount of practicing, especially when you're stuck at home and like you can't go out and do the things you normally want to do. Just work on your TikToks.
Yeah, and to his credit, he almost pulled off a legendary one versus the Cowboys, but a very large defensive lineman by the name of Antoine Woods was not about it. Anyway, no. Martin, you had one more question?
Yeah. So this question's a little bit more serious than everything that we've been asking you and having fun with, but it's still for Ashton and I something important to talk about because we love bringing up when things like this happen. So the Marlins recently announced that they were hiring a woman to quote unquote break the glass ceiling to become their general manager. And we've seen it time and time again lately, especially the past 5-10 years, women just breaking that ceiling in American sports. Do you have your eyes set on anything or how high do you think you could go in the business?
That is a really good question. And it's something that I've thought about a lot because kind of like what I said earlier, like, I didn't get started to be a sports writer at all. Like, I never really knew what I wanted to be. I just knew that I liked sports and I liked to write. And then once I got into it, I'll never forget, I'm a member of AWESOME, the Association for Women in Sports Media, and I got their scholarship when I was a junior in college. And we went to the convention, and my scholarship was sponsored by Christine Brennan, USA Today columnist. She's amazing. And we were at a lunch, and it was Christine and I and another woman who had also gotten one of her scholarships. And Christine looked at both of us and said, "Well, where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I went first and I said, "Well, I'd like to be a national basketball writer at USA Today." And the other girl standing with us just started laughing. And she was like, "What? In 5 years, you're going to be a national basketball writer at a national paper?" And I just remember Christine being like, "Don't laugh. Like, that's not how we support each other. Like, let her believe in whatever she wants to be." And I remember being kind of embarrassed that I just told Christine Brennan, who is like at the very peak of where anybody could get, that I thought I could be at her paper being a national writer in 5 years. And this girl thinks that that's completely unattainable. And maybe I've just set the bar way too high and I'm being unrealistic. But hearing Christine say, "No, you can do whatever you want to do, set the bar as high as you want to set," was really cool. And so I thought for a long time I wanted to be a college basketball writer. I thought I wanted to be a national writer like a Nicole Auerbach when she was at USA Today. Like that to me was like the mecca. That's what I wanted. And then after I covered UNC in the Final Four in 2016, I got an email from Jenny Carlson, who I had met at Awesome. She's a columnist at the Oklahoman, and she said, "Hey, I have no idea if you're interested in leaving North Carolina, but we have an opening for an OU football writer. Would you be interested in interviewing?" And I said, actually, yes, I do want to leave North Carolina. I want to see what else is out there. And I did not have much exposure to football. Like, I remember my editor at the time, Steve Wiseman, who was just such an amazing boss and an amazing mentor. I said, "Steve, I'm going to interview for this job. I am really nervous because I think they're going to ask me football stuff, and I just don't know how much I know." And he was like, "You know what? Let me talk to some people at Duke and see what we can do," because he also covered Duke. And a guy who was an assistant defensive coach at the time took me into the Duke facility. We watched film of the OU Clemson game, the Orange Bowl from the year before. Yeah. It was so cool. And he taught me all these lessons and like, this is what this play is called. This is what this play is called. And that was my crash course in football. And I got the job. And all of a sudden my track changed from being a college basketball writer and wanting to do that to football. And I realized, wow, there's so many more guys here. There's like so many more stories I can tell. And there's so much more national interest. Like basketball, especially UNC, it's national, but it's regional. Whereas like OU football is still regional, but the national reach is so much bigger. And just there's so many more football fans than anything else. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do college football for a long time. And then I'll be a college football national writer. And then the NFL came calling, and the Star reached out and said, "Do you want to cover the Chiefs?" And I thought, God, I've never even considered covering the NFL. Like, I want to just cover college football and the underdogs and write about the walk-ons and the feel-good stories. And are there even any feel-good stories in the NFL? And then I realized, yeah, there are. And I thought I'd be at the Star for a long time. And now I'm at ESPN, and all of that to say that I don't know that I have a goal for myself, because I think it's also entirely possible that whatever I'm going to eventually do isn't a job yet. There maybe, there hasn't been a woman in that position yet, so I don't know who to look to. Somebody like Amina Kimes, I would love to do what she does. And I don't even know what you would call that. Yes, she's a national NFL reporter, but she's also an analyst, and she does some color commentary or play-by-play.
Mina Kimes dominates life. That's what she does.
Right.
She owns everything she does.
Right. Like I would love to be Amina Kimes, but I don't know, is that for ESPN? Is that for an outlet that doesn't even exist yet? Like The Athletic wasn't around 5 years ago for football. So I kind of leave my goal open-ended, because I don't want to limit myself by saying, well, I have to be here within 5 years, because that plan, 5 years, that was summer of 2013. 5 years after that, 2018, I was covering the Chiefs. And that was nowhere on my radar of what I was going to do. So I don't know where I'll end up. And I think that that's really exciting, and that just leaves so many doors open. Maybe I'll be covering hockey. I don't know. Maybe I'll move to the UK and cover soccer, or Australia and cover cricket and rugby. There's just so many possibilities, and I'm really excited about all of it.
Well, if you need any help with the British soccer scene, you can hit me up at Martin Pape _ because I'm actually from England. I love soccer; it's my favorite, and so I can give you a couple of tidbits. Make sure that you hate on Newcastle. Manchester, both Manchester teams are really good, but you can get away with hating on them as well. And there's a lot of teams in London. Good luck figuring out just how many are, in fact, inside London, because some of them will claim third. It's kind of like that the Dallas meme where people will say they're from Dallas, but they're 45 minutes away. People do that with London as well. So
also, Brooke, no matter what happens, you hate Leeds, even if they're in third tier, you hate Leeds.
Everybody hates Leeds in British soccer. So some tidbits if you ever head over on the other pod.
This is an anti-Leeds podcast.
But so far, so good with the ESPN, everything that you're doing there, and I look forward to seeing some of the more content you put out for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year as they go on and win the Super Bowl for my prediction.
There you have it.
You you're right.
Yes.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Brooke Pryor. Make sure you follow her on Twitter at BE Pryor, Pryor. It's on the screen if you're watching on Twitch. And it has been a pleasure. And thank you for all your time. And good luck this season staying warm, because it's about to get that time. And it's about to get that time where you need the Tom Brady trench coat with like 3 coats inside of it. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that is Brooke Pryor. Follow her on every single platform you can. She's got all the information you need, and she can give you some tips on how to cook it up a little bit if you check her Instagram story out. So thanks for joining us, Brooke.
Brooke, thank you.
Thank you guys so much. See ya.
See ya.
Later.
All right, Ashton, while we transition Brooke out of the call, we'll go ahead and give a little shout out to our friends over at Thrive Fantasy. They have been killing it all football season long. If you download it on the Google Play and Apple App Store, you can put in that code BROKEBOY, and when you put $20 down, you'll get $20 right back. The thing that Thrive Fantasy does so well, it's more props than it is DFS. If you think Devontae Adams is going to have over 6.5 receptions, you get a certain amount of points for hitting the over. The points are different in the over and the under. So if they put the points, like say Patrick Mahomes hitting 300.5 yards, Ashton, everyone's going to bet the over, right? So you're actually going to get less points for hitting that than going under. You could get 100 points for the under, where only 80 for the over. It's really cool. It's a different side of the football and sports in general. They did baseball when baseball was here, basketball when basketball was going on. If you're into esports, they do esports as well. Brooke Pryor said her husband plays video games. Maybe he can go ahead and check Thrive Fantasy out. But if you want to get on the action, the code is BROKEBOY. $20 down will get you $20 right back. Again, that was Brooke Pryor with ESPN. Go ahead and give her a follow at BEPRYOR on the Twitter. Ashton, now we get to talk about Week 10. But first, we got a fantasy nuke to give out once we there we go. We're back.
This
on screen.
Nuke snuck up on me. This one you put in here snuck up on me. I will give it. I will say that this is probably the most effective one without question. But yeah.
Well, I was gonna write in there. This is almost the exact same as last week, where we're trying our best not to give it to a quarterback each and every week. So you got to kind of dive in there. But not Dalvin Cook, it's Alvin Kamara this week, going up there and dropping a nuke. If you had him on your team, he probably won you the week. Or if you were playing against him, of course, you were probably struggling and just asking the fantasy gods, when is it going to end? In the league that you are in together, and then some people that are fans of the show are in, he scored, let's see, where is it at? 34.8 points. The only actual quarterback to score more points than him, Ashton, was Tom Brady. So technically,
and it was because Tom Brady threw like 5 touchdowns this week. So
yeah. So was fantasy points down this week? Question mark.
So if you look at the scores, there's like a lot of blowouts.
Mm-hmm.
It was really weird this year. It was really weird this week, and most of them made sense. Like all the teams that you thought would win. The manner in which they won, of course, varied from team to team, but nonetheless, like it was a lot of like the favorites went out there and they did their thing. I know a lot of people were mad about that Green Bay situation, but I can tell you this right now: anytime you see double-digit points on any team in the NFL, you fade that.
Yeah, unless it's the Chiefs and Jets, because that one's just ridiculous. But we got I'm gonna say Riley coming into the chat. Thank you. They say awesome stuff going on. Appreciate it. Welcome to the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. But we're giving the fantasy nuke this week to Alvin Kamara. 8 carries, 15 yards. When you read that stat line, Ashton, before we get to the touchdowns, you're like, how is that the nuke? But he scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. He also had 7 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. If you're in a PPR league, I mean, what is that? Quick math, 15 points, depending if you do decimals for the 3 yards, 15.3 on the receptions alone, and he's got a touchdown on there. Alvin Kamara, he's doing his thing. I saw some people saying on Twitter, Ashton, that he should be in the conversation for MVP right now.
Yeah, man. And we mentioned this before too, right? We talked about this at the halfway point of the season, where the reason that you can say Alvin Kamara is up for MVP is because all of his yards, his success, his touchdowns, his points are negative air yards for Drew Brees. So like Drew Brees and whoever's throwing to him is actually losing yards when they throw it to him, and he's still figuring out how to not just gain yards to get first downs, but he's killing teams. He's killing them out there. He's leading his team in receiving, and now they're finally back at full strength. But man, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? Michael Thomas being out there is great and everything like that, but for the most part, like Alvin Kamara has been carrying this team. At one point, he was like 5th in the league in receiving yards, which is crazy to think about as a running back, but he is the ultimate triple threat out there because I'm sure he can throw the ball a little bit too, but his blocking skill, his ability to run the football, and his ability to catch as well. And you can tell the difference between what he looked like last year and this year. Last year, if you remember, he had an ankle injury that like he obviously came back too early from, but was still out there performing better than like most running backs in the NFL. And now he's back at 100% and he's back to killing the game. It's pretty simple.
I still want the grill,
By the way, there's a thing going on. Like, I follow all the NFL photographers. If you follow me on Instagram, every Monday morning, I go through like the NFL photographers' photos and put them in my Instagram story and find like the best that I possibly can, except for like the Monday Night Football ones or whatever. But they're super dope. And they actually had a thing where they were all posting grill photos from across the league. So like there was a bunch of them where it was like dudes on the sideline laughing with just like completely gold teeth. There's Jason Pierre-Paul has a grill where it's like it looks like Alvin Kamara's, where it's just completely rocked out, and you wonder like, do people even wear mouth guards in the NFL anymore? Is it even necessary? Some guys have them implanted into their teeth and stuff like that, and then other people have them, other people have the grill that fits molded to their mouth and everything like that to make it shine in the light.
Yeah. I wonder how many high school football coaches get mad when they watch the NFL games and you see like the cornerback and the wide receiver and the ball's about to get snapped and their mouthpiece is just dangling off of the
that's the Marcus Peters special.
Yeah.
That's the Jalen Ramsey and Marcus Peters special.
So many
right
cornerback, like it's almost like a sign of being a good cornerback that you don't need your mouthpiece in. Like it's ridiculous.
Don't let a cornerback have a dope ass uniform and then have dreads and have his mouthpiece hanging out. That'll be Martin's new favorite player in the NFL. So
all right, Ashton.
Yeah, no, shout out to Alvin Kamara for out here killing the game, man. But it's about that time.
Yeah, we got to dive into Week 10, of course. You and I.
Before we get started, go ahead, Martin.
What are you cracking open tonight? Oh, there he goes. He's back on the alcohol because he's got to talk about a Texans loss. Ashton, he's got a Texans shirt on. Oh, he's double fisting it. There we go. It's a rough time out here for Texans fans, folks. And as Ashton and I are both from the H-Town, or Ashton from the H-Town more than I am, but grew up there, both Houston fans. And this one, Ashton, if you watch this entire game, I feel sorry for you, man.
I watched every single second.
I was talking to a friend just a couple of minutes before we went on the air, and they said this game was one of those like jokingly set football back 5 to 10 years. Like it was that bad.
So like I know a lot of you simpletons out there don't appreciate good football when you see it. I'm not saying that game was good football because it wasn't. But the fact of the matter is it wasn't as bad as a lot of people thought. The one thing that amazed the shit out of me, Martin, and I tweeted it out, I was like, I ain't never seen the Texans defense play this good. They played their best defensive game against a run-heavy team. And I mean, honestly, Martin, like you saw it, that game final score was 10-7. There was two drives that the Texans had where if they had called the right play at the right time in the red zone, they were at like the 5-yard line, and they could have had 2 touchdowns out of it. There was one where they called a quarterback draw, and it was naked. It was an empty backfield, so it was naked backfield out there, and Myles Garrett got into the backfield instantaneously because he's Myles Garrett, and he was in one-on-one with Laramie Tunsil. And Deshaun Watson had to fake the throw, and in the time of the ball snapping, shoulder faking the throw and then taking off and running, which of course there was no push up the middle because the Texans have one of the worst interior offensive lines in the NFL. So there's no push up the middle. He got scooped up from behind before he could even like pick his way around the offensive lineman to try and possibly fall into the end zone. And that was on 4th down. So they turn the ball over on downs, and then they come out there and I say, And Martin, I was thoroughly impressed. They did this twice to him, right? This is the bad situation. They had the Browns pinned inside their own 10-yard line twice. Killed them on the run. They smashed the shit out of the Browns every time they tried to run the ball. They held the line, and people were getting into the backfield. What really killed them, and I think you can go back and the numbers will justify this, pretty much all of Baker Mayfield's pass yards came off of play action. So, and it was like he had enough time in the backfield. He had no pressure put on him, right? Because they were trying to hold the run lanes and everything like that. They were buying in on the run. Baker Mayfield rolls out to the right-hand side. He has an extra 3 seconds for Jarvis Landry to break open, and it was like basically the same play they called over and over again. And Stefanski, man, Stefanski, to his credit, dude's been, Stefanski is doing like one of the coaching tenets of all coaching tenets, right, Martin? He's putting his players in a position to succeed.
Yep.
And it's that simple sometimes. It's that simple. Put people in a position to succeed. He got Jarvis Landry looking like he's a competent number 1 wide receiver, which we know when he is the number 1 wide receiver. We got to see that for a long time when he was in Miami. He's streaky at best. But for the most part, man, I wasn't really impressed with what the Texans did on defense. And, of course, this is the one time that the Texans offense decides not to show up this entire season. They scored a single touchdown. They missed a field goal because Kymie Fairbairn loves to miss well. Like his misses are
bad,
so clutch. They are so clutch in like the worst way possible for the other team. So Kymie Fairbairn, who, by the way, I think he's got like some of the longest kicks in the NFL this season in terms of distance made, but he's usually pretty consistent. But of course, when the game is on the line, he tried to over-adjust for the wind. And he over-adjusted so hard that it pulled the ball 15 yards outside the uprights. So for people who were sitting there trying to clown the Texans based off of that performance, I get it. They didn't throw up a lot of points, but the fact of the matter is they played I think they played well. Duke Johnson showed some kind of life for the run game overall for the Texans, but the Browns, what they were able to do so consistently, and it's what we've been talking about all season, Martin. Third down comes around, Texans, they 1 yard too short. A couple inches too far to the left, a couple feet too far to the right. There's no pressure up the middle. And then it kept killing them. Baker Mayfield couldn't take advantage of it. They did a great job of stopping the run on first and second down. Third down, it was a wrap. And then, of course, the first touchdown they scored the entire game happens in the waning seconds of the fourth quarter. And it looks really impressive because it's Deshaun Watson doing Deshaun Watson things. And at some point, we need to talk about how Deshaun Watson is playing better football than – he's playing better football with the situation. I mean, the numbers show it, so you can keep shaking your head. Like his depth.
I've got this written down. I've got it written down. But go ahead.
Yeah, he's throwing the ball further and further down the field, getting completions. He had some moments where he wasn't timed up well with Will Fuller, and those cost the Texans a couple of times. They had a turnover on down situations where they threw the ball 3 times in a row, which, if you tell me, Martin, not the greatest idea on the face of the planet. They found little ways to get the run game to be a threat, like somewhat, even though like the Browns scooped them up. Like they would get 7 yards, and then 2 plays later they would try and run the ball again, and the Browns were like, the fuck? Like they would look at him like, you try to disrespect us, you trying to test our gangster, and then they would dump him for like -3 yards. So that happened. I was impressed with what the Texans defense did throughout the course of that game. And then of course, Martin, they scored a touchdown, and it comes down, and I was like, I done heard this story about 1,000,000,001 times. It's the waning seconds of a game. They get them down to third down. They even gave up a first down before the 2-minute warning. They got the stop to the point where they can call the timeout on third down to try and possibly get a stop. And it comes down to like the Texans have to play defense and stop somebody from getting a first down for the offense to have a chance to go out here and win the game. And I was like, fuck out of here. I already know what's going to happen. And of course, Nick Chubb down the sideline, steps out at the 1 yard line. But overall, man, Texans defense played really well until the end, until the fourth quarter, because they suck in the fourth quarter.
No consistency.
That was the best defensive performance they've had the entire season. So
where do I start? I'll start with the most recent thing that you brought up, the run from Nick Chubb at the end. That last drive, I believe they converted a 3rd and 9 by running the ball with Kareem Hunt off to the right-hand side.
It was Nick Chubb, right?
Let's see here.
The third down, the way he ran out of bounds, it was Nick Chubb.
No. Earlier in that drive, it was a third down.
Oh, okay.
Down.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
It might not have been that drive. It might have been earlier. But anyways, late in the fourth quarter, 3rd and 9, the Browns run with Kareem Hunt and get a first down with it. The Texans defense may have been playing better, but it came down to rinse and repeat for every other game except for when they played the Jaguars this year. No consistency. And I don't know how many times – we're going to sound like a broken record by week 16. First down, something decent. We already do.
It's because they're doing the same thing every single week.
They're consistently inconsistent.
they're consistently piss poor on third down.
Dude, it's fucking ridiculous. It's so bad to watch them sometimes. But so you mentioned the run, right? Yo, Justin Reed, knock knock knock. You need to stop fucking paying attention to what people are saying about you on social media because one, what Rivers McCown or whatever the fuck that guy's name is, I can never remember his last name. What Rivers said about you, the guy that covers the Texans, is 100% fucking true. You missed a simple one-on-one tackle against Nick Chubb behind the line of scrimmage, and you were the only guy that could have made the play. So you can chirp all you fucking want and call him asinine and all this shit. What he said is 100% true. You fucking missed a one-on-one tackle against Nick Chubb that cost the Texans the game. All right, now that we got that out of the way, the Texans had 2 drives over 10 plays the entire fucking day. Ashton already mentioned what happened to him. A turnover on downs at the Browns' 3-yard line, and then later in the game, they miss a field goal. Those are the only times all day they had more than 10 plays in a drive. It's fucking insane. Dude, Ashton has joked about me being a Cardinals fan. Like, it is so fucking hard to be a fan of this iteration
Martin,
of the Texans. It's so
Martin,
hard.
It's so frustrating because you know exactly what's going to happen most of the time.
Yes.
But Martin, which one hurts the most? What's happening in the front office or the stuff that's happening on the field?
I'd say this.
What hurts the most?
Dude, honestly, they're both like what's going. I would say the front office because what they have done
is just blatant disrespect.
Is part of or is a majority of the problem out on the field. You have people at high up positions thinking they are know-it-alls, and it's their way or the highway. And we've already gotten Bob out of there. We need to get Easterby out of there as soon as fucking possible. I was gonna get to it when we talked about the Cardinals because you had a take on Twitter that
man, like y'all need okay, go ahead. We're doing this right now.
No, we can get to it because it's gonna get brought. Like this is the thing, it is going to get brought up every time.
No, but like, okay. So my question is, Mark, do you think I'm wrong in what I said?
That we need to stop talking about it?
No, not even stop talking about it. Do you think it's dweeby when somebody like the first thing that people they see DeAndre Hopkins make an amazing play that'll probably never happen again, right? Mm-hmm. And the first thing they're thinking about is some dude who doesn't even work for the team anymore and being like, you actually thought that guy sucked. And I was like, y'all really like, okay, so Mark, and this is another thing too. Some of y'all are dumb enough to believe that that's why DeAndre Hopkins plays for the Arizona Cardinals. Y'all really think it was about money?
No, it's about bringing his baby mama. Like,
DeAndre
Hopkins wasn't a cultural fit.
Yeah, that's it. It was DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe that should be the name of the episode next week. Cultural fit.
By the way, my what's poppin' is going to be. I'm gonna get to it in the Cardinals, but the jump man, the gloves, that picture.
Oh yeah.
That is going to be my what's poppin' on Thursday.
Is there like some tweet out there where it's like the stock rose for jump man like 57% or something?
Well, no, I've got it. I actually have it pulled up right here because I was reading it before we went live. The photo taken from behind the play where you see the Jumpman logo on DeAndre Hopkins' gloves, the Adidas, the Nike logo on the defender's gloves, has yielded $5.7 million in exposure for Nike. Guess what? DeAndre Hopkins isn't sponsored by Nike. So he's not getting a single penny. He's not getting a single penny of any of the $5 million.
Also, let me ask you this question, Martin. How many of y'all motherfuckers knew that Jumpman made gloves before DeAndre Hopkins made that catch?
I didn't. I sure as fuck didn't, man.
I've seen Jumpman gloves one time in my entire life because they don't sell them at Dick's. They don't sell them at Academy because you know your boy's a basic bitch. I don't have access. I don't have a phone number. I don't have a number for the high end stuff. But whoever gave DeAndre Hopkins them Jordan gloves, that's straight out the college playbook, my guy. Mm-hmm. Like great high school basketball player makes amazing play wearing Nike.
Yeah.
You know, like that's how Nike got to the point where it's $1 billion company. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
sure.
yeah.
It's
Jumpman
a lot of money.
Jumpman has football players, I think they have like one or two. Jumpman is the smaller brand, of course. By the way, in case you were ever wondering, that's why Zion is with Jumpman instead of Nike, because the roster for Jumpman is so small.
Yeah.
And a lot of the dudes that they have are like, they have Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
So
which we're also going to be talking about on Thursday.
take that for whatever you want it to be. They have one of their signature athletes is Russell Westbrook, and they needed new blood on the lineup in case Russell Westbrook seemed, based off what's happening on Twitter, Russell Westbrook is one phone call away from being in Washington and having 12 wins on a season. So, that another thing too. Kelly
Hey,
Oubre
at least he
Jr.
gets
got
control
traded.
of his team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, that's what, bro. Like when we talked, remember we talked about that, and I was he said he wanted the team to be more like the Thunder, and I was like, I don't. Last time I checked, they played each other, and the Thunder lost. From what I remember, from what I recall, off of James Harden making an amazing. Anyway, moving on. This is a football-only episode. I apologize for listening at home.
Going on a tangent.
We don't have because we both agree on that. We both agree on if Russell Westbrook is trying to turn the Rockets into the Thunder, we don't need that. Nobody. By the way, the NBA draft is going to be tomorrow, and it's going to be so sick. Because it's very little of it with regard to the players actually being drafted.
So, interesting fact while we're on this tangent of the NBA and the draft being tomorrow. Do you know the pick that the Rockets just got for trading?
It's like 28th or something like that.
No, 16th. It'll be the first round pick since 2015 for the Houston Rockets. That's if they keep it, because they may fucking end up trading it by the time.
They're trying. So that was a big thing too. I remember when I did the whole Rockets big spiel about look at these draft picks. Like I talked about, Daryl Morey does not care about the draft. He cares about superstars. Yep. Which, hey, guess what? Established superstars are very important to shining, going out there and winning games. Rookies ain't gonna do that for you. Look at what happened to the best rookie in the NBA this past season. He didn't even make the playoffs. Right, he got smoked. It was Ja Morant. He won Rookie of the Year. He's an amazing basketball player. Not good enough.
Yeah. All right.
So
last point for the Browns-Texans game before we move on to the next game on the list. Ashton is really not going to be a fan of this one. If you are a fan of if you're a fan of Ashton, you probably don't want to listen to this one because you probably agree with him. But if you're a fan of Deshaun Watson, this is the point where you should hit mute for the next 30 seconds. We need to stop talking about.
This is the part where you just Martin is wrong again.
No, I'm not
on
wrong.
This show.
No, not. This is 100%.
You got the numbers, or you just saying?
I've got the. Hold on, I can pull up his.
Martin did the math, y'all.
No,
Let's see.
You think I'm gonna come and rag on Deshaun Watson, Mr. $160 million man, without being able to fucking back it up?
Martin did the math, y'all. Let's hear it. I'm impressed. I want to hear this just because you did the homework on it.
All right.
Go ahead, Martin. Go ahead.
So you and every other Texans propaganda, whatever bullshit you want to fucking put out about Deshaun Watson needs to...
I would prefer if you would address me as Deshaun Watson propaganda because, quite frankly, I'm wearing a Texan shirt right now. And it's mainly because it was slightly cool outside, and this is one of my best long sleeve shirts. I'm very, very close to just I guess I'm a Seahawks fan right now. So
Bro,
it is
I've
not
got
even
this
about
Texans mask, and I've yet to take it out of the fucking plastic.
That's from a season ticket package.
Yeah, this is the season ticket present for being a season ticket holder for the Texans. So when you say I'm not a fan, or anybody out there says I'm not a fan, my dad and I are still giving this team fucking money. Well, my dad is. I don't fucking give a cent to the fucking Texans this season. Anyways, we need to stop saying
Martin's going to be a Arizona Cardinals season ticket holder. He's not even going to go to the games. He just wants to make sure that his money goes into their pocket.
So we're two broke boys, right? But as soon as if I get this job that I had a job interview for today,
I sent you the links to the discount
the first
stuff.
thing I am buying is a Kyler Murray black Arizona Cardinals jersey. The second thing I'm buying is a red DeAndre Hopkins jersey.
So Martin, hold on. They have these they have the short sleeve hoodies, bro. That's the move. They have the short sleeve little light hoodies things, and they have the player names on the back.
Okay.
That's the move. That's the move.
I'll take a look at it. Anyways, back to the Texans and Deshaun Watson. Please stop saying that he's having a career year, that he's playing well, that any of the bullshit that has been said about him, because his stats are against prevent defense. Because the Texans defense is so fucking bad, and the Texans are constantly down by double digits and trailing in games that they have to throw the ball. To say that he's having a career year while the Texans are 2-7 it's just idiotic. I have no other word. I saw somebody at either ESPN, Fox Sports, or somebody put out a graphic saying that Deshaun Watson is having the best season that he's ever had.
So like, did you read the article? Did you read why that's happening, right?
It's because he's playing against prevent defense.
So, like, Martin, you're saying he's playing against prevent defense, but, like, he's throwing the ball further down the field than he ever has in his entire career.
Because there's no fucking they're literally 25 yards back. They're playing prevent.
So if they're playing prevent defense, they're further down the field than they are closer to the line of scrimmage, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The defense don't have to play a normal. They don't have to play a normal scheme. We just saw what a normal scheme does against Deshaun Watson. 20 for 30, 163 fucking yards.
And a loss by, I guess you could say, 10 points. A 10-point loss.
Because they would have scored that touchdown.
So, I mean, you judge. So, like, this is once again, this is a big problem with a lot of people in sports. Like, the inability to, like, you lost. It doesn't matter how you lost in the context of the situation. So, this is what we're talking about, right? Like, some people in their mind, I'm not saying it's you, but in this situation, it sounds like it's you. You're saying that the Texans loss is equivalent to what happened to the Bengals this weekend, where they lost 46-10. I think it was 46.
All I'm saying is his yards go when the Tex what has happened in all of the close games so far this year?
It's come down to the defense, and they've just not been able to hang in there. Like, it's literally like every time. Like, think about this, Martin. So, like, they played the Vikings, right? It came down to the defense stopping Dalvin Cook on the final drive of that play to give the offense another chance to go out there and score and win to give the offense a chance to score and win the game, right? They lost that game 31-23 to go out there and win it. They lost that game. The Steelers,
the game that he had his second worst completion percentage.
Yeah, the game that he had his second worst completion percentage, but I think he led that week. He led, like, in terms of, like, the deepest targets in the league that week. Which, by the way, side note, the Vikings are heating up.
Oh yeah, they are for sure.
So, like, and I will say credit to the Texans. It's probably because of them, because that was, like, the first game that they were able to win.
Yeah, they got that mojo.
They got the mojo from the Texans, but, like, you look at what they did versus the Jaguars the first time with which, by the way,
half their defense out, yeah.
Which, by the way, like, they probably not gonna give your boy his job back. So, 30-14 was that one. That was out of hand, right? Like, that's 30 points. He's thrown up 30 points, like, I think 4 times this season in the 6 games that they played. So, they played the Chiefs. They threw it 20. They played the Ravens. They had 16, which is bad, of course. Like, both of those 2 first games of the season were so bad. The Texans versus Steelers game where they didn't score in the second half. Right, that was the one where they didn't score in the second half, where they didn't even get in the Steelers territory in the second half of the game. 28-21 was final score in that one, and then they scored 23 points versus the Vikings. That was the game after they fired Bill. Oh no, that was the game they did fire Bill O'Brien afterwards. 23 points there. 30 points versus the Jaguars, which of course is like the greatest okie doke in the history of football. We all knew they were going to win that game whether Bill O'Brien was the head coach or not.
Yeah.
They scored 36 points versus the Tennessee Titans, right? And the Tennessee Titans, they not in a position to be playing prevent nothing because they don't play.
We're gonna get to their defense here in a couple of minutes.
They don't play. They don't not in a position.
They don't know what the fuck defense
like
is.
Warren Sapp said. I don't like to quote Warren Sapp too much because he be wilding sometimes. But Warren Sapp had the greatest quote of all time about prevent defense. He's like, you know what prevents defense stops you from doing? It prevents you from winning. So that's what it is. But then versus the Packers, they scored 20. Versus the Jags, the second time they scored 27. Versus the Browns, they scored 7.
Yeah. So here we go. Since we've lost Bill O'Brien, since he was ran out of town, so the first game against a Jacksonville defense that was missing 6 starters, 359 yards, average 10.3 yards per pass. Tennessee, overtime, 335, 9.1 average. Green Bay, 309, 7.9 average. Jacksonville, 281 yards, 8.8 average.
Is that not good?
No.
281?
He's literally going down every single week since the Jaguars.
You just named 2 teams that he threw for over 300 yards versus 2 different teams, right? He just threw over 300 yards.
In one game went to overtime, whatever. The Green Bay Packers game, 309. It didn't matter how many fucking yards he threw. They were getting blown out.
Sorry, Martin, point. By the way. Martin, we got about 1 more minute on this one because we're doing that thing. Like, when it comes to the Packers game, what he's supposed to do? He can't play defense too, man.
It doesn't, like, you can't be saying he's having a career year when
just because the wins are not adding up, like the wins are not presenting themselves. Because guess what, Martin? Like we know this for a fact. He may touch the ball every single possession on offense. Shout out to Mittens right there. He might touch the ball every single possession on offense, but he doesn't play defense. He doesn't play special teams. Like that's just a fact.
He plays quarterback, the most important position, and he's not getting wins.
It can be the most important position, but it doesn't determine who wins or loses the game, because we've seen what happens when like Aaron Rodgers has been great this entire time that the Packers were down, right? It ain't stopped teams from beating the shit out the Packers. It ain't stopped Mike McCarthy from getting fired. It didn't stop them from losing the NFC North when they were the best team, clearly, when it came to talent on the offensive side of the ball, and they're not on the defensive side of the ball. Them dudes, like right now, think about this, Martin. This is how good Aaron Rodgers is. Everybody in the building, when they walk in, including the other team, including the people like you and me watching the game from home, know that they throwing the ball to Devontae Adams and they still can't stop him. Like that's how, you know what I'm talking about? Like that's the kind of stuff. And I get what you're trying to say. Like you're trying to say like, hey man, you can't be out here trying to pat the dude on the back while his team got 2 wins, right?
I'm just saying, a lot of his stats coming when the Texans are trailing and down, and in games that are already out of hand.
Down. So like he out here trying to. It's so when the chips are down, he out here playing his best football. Is what you're saying?
Sure. I'm just trying to say you can't say he's having a career year because wins matter. And he's not winning. He can't even put up more than a touchdown against the Browns, dude. Like that's on him. That's on him in the offense. That's on the entire offense. They can't.
I agree
they
on that
score.
Situation. They can't play a complete game. The Texans cannot play a complete football game, and that's why they're 2-6.
Yeah.
You got anything about J.J. Watt this week?
He didn't get another sack. If you want to continue.
Cool. So he's tied for 6 in tackles for loss this season. Did you know that?
Fucking grats.
And,
I'm glad $100 million gets him tied for 6. I'm get him the fuck out of town,
for 6.
Dude.
So
trade him.
Other thing too, we're talking numbers, right? We're talking numbers. PFF, and we can sit here and talk about PFF until we're blue in the face about the context of the situation. PFF has him as the highest rated Texans defensive player. So
cool. That's not anything to fucking
80.6.
I mean, this season that's nothing to fucking hang your hat on. I mean,
well, he can't make he can't. He's not a part of the reason they're missing tackles. He's not a part of the reason that people can't cover wide receivers. He's not a problem when it comes to the pressures because he leads the team in pressures. So like you literally trying to say like you're trying to get this argument off about like he's the worst player on the team.
Never said that.
He's actually okay. You say he's the problem, right?
I've never said that. I said he doesn't deserve his contract.
That's not true, and we both know that because he's basically
he's getting paid for shit he's done in the past instead of what he's doing right now.
Which is like, when are you supposed to? When do you know that's how the NFL works?
Just trade him. How the NFL just get him out of here.
The NBA is about potential. The NFL is about what you've done in the past.
All right. Once the season's over, trade him. Deshaun Watson, get them the fuck out of here.
I disagree. On that one.
If they're rebuilding, what's the point? Like, neither of them want to play for a rebuilding
leadership,
team.
Culture, right? That's the word. That's the buzzword, right?
Hey,
that's what I'm supposed to say.
Yeah, exactly. J.J. Watt is a cultural fit for the Texans. We both know why. Deshaun Watson probably going to end up getting the not a cultural fit.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. You've been seeing it on Twitter, right? J.J. Watt getting a little spicy with these fools that try and check him.
Yeah.
Because
he's pissed off, dude. Like,
I mean, of course he is. Like, we already know that. Also, on that side note, like, y'all really trying to come at J.J. Watt because y'all think he a nice guy. He's like, he nice to you right now, not like overall.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right, let's move on, Ashton. You and I could have an entire episode.
15 minutes.
Way too long talking about the fucking lame ass Texans.
And then the worst part is they played the Browns, so like
and
we
they
just spent
fucking
15 minutes talking about the Browns.
Like that's the thing. Oh, by the way, they had 2 100 yards. I mean, yeah, the last run put Nick Chubb over 100 yards, but
it was like 200 yards rushing total or some shit.
231. I said they would give up 300, so say something nice about the Texans. They didn't give up 300 yards rushing on the ground to.
I'm telling you, man, and then look at the past numbers too. I'm telling you, man, that was their best defensive performance in the entire season because like they gave up all those yards and gave up 10 points.
Yeah, I will agree with you there. I didn't watch the game, but it did seem like the defense sort of did everything they could to let the offense.
They fucked up a lot. I'm not gonna lie, but they figured out because the Browns are a run-based team. They played really well against the run.
Maybe if we're looking for a positive in a needle in a haystack, maybe they fucking figured out some of their running. I mean, yeah, they gave up 230 yards, but maybe they figured something out. You know, like maybe
at some point,
maybe just maybe they figured something out for this game. And It is. I mean,
all right, Martin.
Yeah, let's
we
move on
to
the best game of the
your
week.
darlings of the NFL. They're not
Yes.
the best team in the NFL. We both know that.
No, I
we
didn't
move
say
on
that. I
to the
said the
darlings.
best game. I said it was the best game of the
Okay,
week.
best game. My bad. We
No.
move on to the darlings of the NFL. The Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals, take on the Buffalo Bills. Which, by the way, man, after the trade to get CP3, the City Edition uniforms, Arizona on the way up, baby.
Yeah, they are.
Like Arizona looking up right now.
Yep.
And you know, if you lean a certain way,
hey, I was just about to say.
Happened in the election,
I was literally just about to say, depending on how you see politics, they've changed blue as well.
Arizona on the up and up, baby. What you talking about?
Democrats looking at Arizona like, yo, what's up, dude? But Ashton,
girl, what's up?
Ashton Cardinals win 32-30. Everybody that is a fan of the NFL knows what happened in the last 11 seconds actually, because that's how long that last play lasted. It was 10 seconds. There was actually a second left on the clock. If the DMCA wasn't a thing, because fuck the DMCA, this would literally be an entire segment where I was just playing music. One Ave Maria, but instead of calling it Ave Maria, Ave Marie, or I guess you could say at the end of it, but whatever. Jumpman, them boys up to something. Yeah, got it in there.
Yeah,
hit him with it.
The king of hype. Feature.
A little bit. DeAndre Hopkins going up there. We already talked about it briefly in the Texans game. The trade will never be forgotten. It'll never, until DeAndre Hopkins retires, it's never gonna not get brought, like double negative, like whatever. It's like never gonna not get brought up.
So the disingenuous part is there was a lot of people that apparently came to the realization that that trade was a bad trade when that catch happened. Whereas you and I and a lot of other people knew the second that the trade happened was when it was the bad trade. Like immediately, like not even subtly, like very much as soon as you saw it happen, it was the worst thing that could possibly happen to the Houston Texans, because they gave away at the time, like many would say, like even their best player, like at their position, because
the best Hopkins or one of the best wide receivers.
Yeah, it depends on the week, right? Like sometimes it depends on the week.
Julio Jones has the same type of games, yeah.
And it's brutal because like we know what Julio Jones' situation is, and a lot of people. Julio Jones is working his way to being Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, give him Kyler Murray. He's going to do very similar to how D-Hop's doing this season.
Side note, do not blame us for bringing up that Larry Fitzgerald dropped his first pass in 2 years. Somebody tweeted that out and put it into the ether. And, of course, the first pass that Larry Fitzgerald drops in 2 years is intercepted in a game of all things. But, yeah, no. So, Martin, like a lot of people acting disingenuous on the internet, right? Thinking that Bill O'Brien really traded DeAndre Hopkins because he wanted $15 million a year, which is hilarious. It was other personal. Yeah, he's not a cultural fit, which, hey, I guess being good at football makes you not a cultural fit for the Houston Texans, which says a lot more.
Just being good at your job. Shout out to Amy.
Yeah. Shout out to Amy.
Good at your
job on Twitter.
Job in general, yeah. Like
being good at so that means, guess what, Martin? The second they trade Deshaun Watson, I'm picking a new team. So
yeah, he's good. Like him and JJ just, I don't know. We're talking about the Cardinals and Bills. Let's talk about some good football that we saw from both sides of the field. You and I, not the biggest Bills fans.
So my question is, was it good football from the Bills?
I would say yeah.
There's a lot of field goals for the Bills in this game.
That's true.
Cole Beasley, who we already knew was really good. Stephon Diggs gets a killer touchdown. Josh Allen, under a lot of pressure. I can't wait to see it. See, the problem is when we record this show on Tuesday, we don't have the pressure numbers because those are advanced stats and those don't come out until Wednesday, like across the board or whatever, especially for PFF and for NFL in general. NFL next-gen stats don't put pressures out until Wednesday. But nonetheless, Josh Allen, once again, playing really good football.
The Bills still don't have a running game. Josh Allen led them in rushing
Martin,
again.
At this point, is it because they're choosing not to? Like, how many carries in total? You got the stats pulled up, right? How many carries they have in total?
They had, according to ESPN, 18 rushes compared to 50 passes.
What you supposed to do with 18 rushes as a running back? Like it's not, and
it wasn't
rushes not going to one running.
Yeah,
back,
exactly.
right?
Zach Moss had 7. Singletary had 4.
What you supposed to do with 7
Exactly.
rushes,
Like it doesn't. Like I understand
that's
you put up 30
that's
points.
a choice. That's an active choice to not run the ball. Yeah. So hey, if they get screwed over because late in the season they don't know what they have at running back, they don't know what play sequences work really well, they don't know what play calls work really well in certain situations. That's on them because they chose not to run the ball early in the season. So
100% agree.
And then they wanted Josh Allen to be the leading rusher, leading the team's leading rusher. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we gotta. There was some during the pregame they were talking about like the Josh Allen versus Kyler Murray thing, and it's like it's really not that comparable. Like, yes, they both throw the ball, and yes, they both run the ball.
What you mean they were trying to? They
were trying to like compare, like saying like. I can't remember where I saw it, dude.
They want Josh Allen to be so great,
it's ridiculous.
Bad. They want him to be great so bad.
Yeah. 32 of 49, 284 yards.
One of these guys is breaking records literally that have been held for like 50 plus years, and the other one is Josh Allen.
Yeah, I've actually part of this. I was going to bring up some of the records that Kyler. If you just give me a second, I'm going to bring. Speaking of the likes on Twitter. Hold on, I can bring up my...
don't do that, because guess what, guys? What he's about to read off, if he reads off who held that record before Kyler Murray took it, it'll be like 1954, before the forward pass was socially acceptable in football. Yeah. That's literally what it is. I saw all of the records you're talking about. And by the way, the Cardinals Twitter account is just going off. They just copy and paste from NFL research. Like they just copy and paste. Like, oh wow, Kyler Murray did that. Cool. Is it not a
perfect time to be the Cardinals social media person right now? Like you've got so much content to fucking work with. You've got Kyler Murray.
Plus that dude. What's his name? Chris Henson,
the photographer.
Yeah, no. That's Derek Spencer, I think, is the photographer for the Cardinals. But the dude that's doing like the art, where he's like taking the guy who's doing like the computer graph art or whatever, that's like drawing all those dope ass photos. You should follow him on Instagram. I apologize, I forgot his name. I think it's like Chris Spencer, bro. I gotta look it up. Yeah. But anyway. Okay. 32-30 was his final score in this one. Martin's got some really useless stat that actually is like super specific.
No, there's a couple of them. Kyler Murray is the first player in NFL history to record a passing and rushing touchdown in 8 straight games. In a game 8 times in the first 9 games of a season. His 8 such games in 2020 are also tied for the most in a single season in NFL history. Where's the next one? Where's the next one? There's
too many.
There's the Texans.
By the way, Martin is a Cardinals fan because he's getting all this love on Twitter. He's not even really down for the cause, guys. Don't fall for him.
Yeah, shout out to everybody that's responding to all my everything I replied to on the Cardinals.
He's about to be a Cardinals insider when this whole thing is over. Oh, for sure.
I mean, if they want to give me a job, I'm right here. Kyler Murray is the first player in NFL history with 6,000 passing yards and 1,100 rushing yards in his first 25 career games. And this final one, this isn't Kyler Murray, it's the Arizona Cardinals in general. The Cardinals, the offense ranks number 1 in the NFL, averaging 425 in total yards per game, and a league-leading 7 games with 400-plus total yards. Also, just the second team in NFL history to have 2,300 passing yards and 1,500 rushing yards through the first 9 games of a season. So, it is safe to say that the Arizona Cardinals offense is clicking. Cliff Kingsbury's kind of figured out. He took that. Him and Kyler took that first year, kind of molded a little bit of it, and now we're just seeing Kyler. We're seeing not only is Kyler this like amazing athlete, which great fucking take, amazing athlete Kyler Murray, but his what is it, acumen, the brain, the knowledge, the small things that make a good quarterback go from good to great. I see that more in Kyler Murray than I have in Josh Allen. Josh Allen still kind of makes the same mistakes, still throws interceptions. Kyler Murray, I believe, let's see, how many interceptions does Kyler have so far this season? Give me 1 second. Only 8 interceptions so far this year. And let's see, how many does Josh Allen? If Josh Allen has, where is it?
What was the What group did you say had Josh Allen has like 3 interceptions or some shit like that?
Apparently he's only got 7. So I was about to say I thought he had like 15. So
no, he's not bad. Like I'm saying, like once again, we've been saying this the entire season. He's not playing bad. He's playing very good football. He's just not the best quarterback in the NFL. Like y'all are people overlooking Russell Wilson up until like this 3-game stretch or whatever. People are overlooking Kyler Murray. People overlooking the effective. Well, Dak Prescott was like on a historic level until he got hurt or whatever. But it's just so much of like there's people out there who are just balling out of control. And really like you could even make an argument that Lamar Jackson is working through stuff that is the fault of the Ravens as a team overall, and is getting better in the process of it, still finding ways to keep his team competitive in games. And anyway, moving on. Josh Allen is not the best dual threat in the NFL. We both know that. And if you believe that, like, that's wild to me. It really is. But yeah, other than that, man, what else did you take away from this game, Martin? I know you watched every single second of it in the post game and the pre game and everything.
I soaked it all in, man. I was full on Cardinal all the way. The Bills had a 96.8% chance of winning when they called a timeout with 11 seconds left. So what happened was Arizona came out. They were at like the 40, their own 45, right? It was a 43-yard touchdown pass. So whatever. So I guess they were on the 43-yard line of Buffalo. Question mark. Yeah. Apparently they're at Buffalo's 43. They come out. They do 3 wide to the right and D-hop to the left. Buffalo calls a timeout. They talk it over. Mistake number 1 the Buffalo Bills made. Ashton, if you go back and watch the play.
Showing up.
Well, that as well.
Showing up to play. Nice.
The mistake number 1 for me, though, was if you go back and look pre-snap, their defenders are 10, 15 yards away from D-hop. I could understand with Larry Fitzgerald, Isabella, anybody else on the Arizona Cardinals defense or offense, play off of them. DeAndre Hopkins, you should be bumping at the line of scrimmage to throw him off of his timing for whatever route it was. Because if you see one of the angles of the play, he gets on the other side of the cornerback and literally just throws his hand up. And as he's throwing his hand up, the second most important part of this, or third actually, because there's also the other question. Which was the better part of that play, Ashton? Was it the catch or was it the throw? Because you can't have the catch without the throw, and you can't have the throw without the catch. It's like the chicken and the egg. Which came first? Like, where do you rank it?
Kyler Murray did what Deshaun Watson would have done in that same exact situation. So I'm not too impressed with that. But at the same time, you have a wide receiver who caught in triple coverage. Mm-hmm. Against Jordan Poyer and Tre'Davious White.
The three best Buffalo Bills. The 3 best Bills defenders.
Yes.
But so Kyler Murray rolls out, and they try to contain him. They try to fucking keep him inside the pocket. But Kyler does this little, and I've tried to tweet it. I fucking went on Instagram. I'm trying to get more people to give this part of the play more value. He gives a little shimmy. Like a little shimmy, Coco what? And just steps inside and steps back outside. The defender loses his ankles, misses the tackle, and then Kyler just fucking heaves it for the end zone. And, of course, we all know DeAndre Hopkins comes down with it. So that was my breakdown of it. The Bills, prior to that play, basically a 97% chance to win. They called timeout. Didn't bump D-Hop at the line of scrimmage. Let Kyler get outside. And they did their magic, man, and now they're first place in the NFC East and
West.
The NFC West. But yeah,
they are definitely first place in the NFC East as well. But moving on that one, Martin, had quite the night watching that replay over and over again. I'm assuming in a dark room with a lot of lotion.
Dude, I watched every single angle. I think I looked at all the videos on Instagram. All the pictures, everything, dude. I love DeAndre Hopkins, man. I miss him so much as a Texan.
I've gotten over it.
I don't think I'll ever
get as well.
I've never gotten over it, to be honest. I don't think I'll ever get over it. He was
Steelers Bengals 36-10.
I brought this one up. I put this one high, Ashton, just because we were talking to Brooke Pryor, and of course she covers the Steelers.
Steelers beat the Bengals 36-10. We'll be moving on now, Martin.
Big Ben. So one of the things, and I think Brooke actually meant.
Oh no, I was serious about moving on.
Oh well, really quickly, did you see what Tomlin said though about the whole not practicing thing?
Yes.
Like for
both times that he's not practiced, they've just like annihilated the shit out of the team that they've played.
And so he's
and
gonna
they're
start.
Like, maybe he just needs to not practice ever again.
Yeah, and so he's basically.
Brooke wrote a story about that.
Yeah, that he's gonna start. Was it every Thursday now is gonna be his first day of practice, and they're just gonna kind of like coast through because apparently Big Ben. I mean, it's the Bengals defense, so I mean, we got to put that caveat there. But I mean, he missed all week. He kind of did the Matthew Stafford thing where he didn't see his team until they got on the field, and goes 27 for 46, 333 yards and 4 touchdowns. Impressive. The Steelers 9-0. You asked the question, and I just want to take the time right now to take a look at their schedule because we're going to do it. How likely is it they go 16-0? And you and I, you've come on board with the whole strength of schedule thing this season. This is who they've got left. The Jaguars, the Ravens, Washington, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Cleveland. And my cat is about to run my computer over, so I'm going to move her out of the way. So Ashton, how likely? I mean, where do you see a loss there?
Oh, they play down the competition, so literally every single game is like a roller coaster for them. You can
you stop?
Whatever. They legit play down the competition. So they are technically better and just as good as their opponent at any given time. So literally any of those games, they might have, like, if you really wanted to get wild with it, they lose to the Jaguars because the Jaguars played really well. It actually, I rescind that comment. The Jaguars did not play well, and we'll talk about why. They had some situations break their way that helped them out a lot.
There was a little Mother Nature involved with the Jaguars almost beating the Packers. I don't know if you. We'll talk to that when we get that one further down the list, Ashton. But yeah, I only wanted to mention the Steelers Bengals because we had the Steelers beat writer on there. So we move on to one of the other good games of the week, depending on how you look at everything. The Rams 23, the Seahawks 16. Ashton, how worried are you about your beloved Seahawks? I've asked you every time they've lost.
They have the worst defense in the NFL, so not worried at all because they just so happen to have the best quarterback out there in the game. Chris Carson's coming back this week. They played against the Rams, and for as bad as the Rams like really shellacked them, this score did not show it. And I think that's more of an indication of the Rams offense than it is anything. The Rams defense played at an elite level. The Seahawks, and as I suspected, couldn't stop the few passes that were thrown in this game. They also apparently couldn't stop the run plays. Malcolm Brown had 2 touchdowns in this game. 23-16. They were down by 10 points. Most of this game, Russell Wilson threw multiple interceptions. One of them was in the end zone. He spent most of his time not looking. And Martin, this is another thing too. We can talk about this football concept. You talk about lockdown corners. Lockdown corners get the benefit of the doubt to a level that sometimes bails them out of situations when they are not in the right position. There was multiple times that DK Metcalf was open that Russell Wilson did not look at him, but it was because the other 27 times he dropped back and looked at DK Metcalf to check to see if he was open. He was not. There was like 3 other times where it was literally a streak route for DK Metcalf. He was open, got separation from Jalen Ramsey, and then did not get the pass. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Simmer down, young blood. You don't need to be trying to talk to Russell Wilson about how open you are. He'll determine if you're open or not. Because DK had he was saying some stuff on the side. He was saying some stuff as he was running back to the line of scrimmage. But for the most part on this one, man, this came down to an excellent performance from the Rams defense because not only was it Jalen Ramsey who got a great lockdown performance and hands down lockdown performance versus DK Metcalf, a guy who is significantly larger than him. It was the fact of the matter is that the few times that the Seahawks players were just wide open, because if it was any other quarterback, he would have had more interceptions because Russell Wilson threw it into some crazy tight windows. There was one touchdown that was batted down by an excellent Rams play where he read the gap between Tyler Lockett's catch angle and where he was position-wise, full layout to swat the ball down to prevent a touchdown that would have cut the lead down to 3 and put the Rams in probably a precarious situation overall. But nonetheless, the Rams defense dominated this game. 23 points is not a great performance from the Rams, especially considering they got the ball back a ton from a lot of 3-and-out situations from the Seahawks. Plus, the amount of turnovers that the Seahawks gave them, and they got 23 points out of it. I mean, goddamn, they got, like, we already know they have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They just waiting on their offense to catch up, like they've been waiting on the offense to catch up for about 4 years now. So
yeah, it's so weird that, I mean, the year they went to the Super Bowl, whatever, like the offense was just above average, I would say. Like,
you say above average,
Sean
but that was also the same year. That was also the same year they threw up 50 points to beat the Chiefs. Remember
yeah,
that?
like one of the greatest Monday Night Football games, if not the greatest Monday Night Football game of all time. But like that was when their offense was new and nobody had seen it on film, and
Right.
now there's years of it on film, and they're kind of doing the same thing. And it's like you said, the fact that Russell Wilson is sacked 6 times, Seattle turns the ball over 3 times,
And no, by the way, those were bad situation sacks. Like, those were situational sacks that came and bit them in the ass. Like, those were third down sacks. Those were sacks where there was those sacks for like double-digit yards.
Yeah.
I think he led the league in terms of like quarterback sack this weekend, and that's saying a lot because Carson Wentz played this Sunday. So,
but yeah, I think what's happened is Seattle's kind of there's film out there of how to beat this version of the Seattle Seahawks, and it's just blitz. Like, you want advanced stats? I want to know how many fucking times the Rams blitzed like 2-3 extra rushers. Then, like, how many times were they facing 6, 7, 8, like.
Right, and that's a big part of it too. The other thing that goes along with it is, like, the Seattle Seahawks defense is probably just as bad as the Texans. They just have better personnel to kind of disguise it a little bit. And sometimes and on top of that, they have a better mind on their defensive coordinator position. And that's saying a lot because Romeo Crennel is probably helping out a ton with the defensive coordinator stuff with the Texans. But they have the personnel to be able to get stops in certain situations. But what they specialize in doing is giving up them pass yards.
Yeah.
So it was really shocking to see them go out there and get suckered into a lot of the end around stuff, a lot of the halfback counter stuff that went up the middle, or stuff that went between guard tackle was a lot of the stuff that was killing them. And then when they broke to the outside, corners having to come up from the line of scrimmage and try to make tackles, and they really just flat out couldn't.
Yeah.
And the Rams did a great job of making sure the pocket was moving enough that a defense like the Seattle Seahawks, who gets no pressure to begin with, got zero pressure, which of course put Jared Goff in a position to be great. And he went out there and he did enough to win the game.
Yeah, 300 yards, but no touchdowns, no interceptions. This one of a weird stat line for the Rams, like
very Alex Smith of him.
100%.
We'll talk about that later.
100 fucking percent. Just an odd stat line, odd game in general. A lot of pressure to the Seahawks. They need to figure out how they're going to handle pressure going forward, because that seems to be the key to unlocking and stopping Russell Wilson this year. We move on, Ashton. We've got the Ravens Patriots Sunday night football game, played in a monsoon apparently. I didn't know.
Monsoon.
Yeah, we've seen
monsoon.
We've seen all
just so happened to stop
right after the game. Yeah, and it also came down at its worst point while the Ravens were trying to drive to win. Like, how does that, like, any other team, you wouldn't really, like, there's no conspiracy or no bullshit, whatever, but when it's Bill Belichick and the fucking Patriots and it times out, dude, when it times out perfectly, you're just like, wait, what? Like
yeah.
Like, it started pissing down on the like, yeah, it rained the entire time, and like some of the shots are really fucking cool and all that, but when like they showed that camera that NBC has that like removes the rain on, like, when they show the highlight and stuff, and then like the last drive for the Ravens, you couldn't even really see what was going on from the TV camera, and
so their center kept shooting the ball far to the right.
Yeah, like it was like, what the fuck is going on?
He had like a cut on his hand a week ago, and he was just like, he was sending the ball all over the place. Luckily, Lamar Jackson is like an elite level athlete, and he was able to catch it and keep it moving. But the other thing that goes along with it, Martin, I don't know if you remember the first year that Nike started designing the uniforms for the NFL, their biggest thing was that for the big guys, like the D linemen and stuff like that, the pants were like see-through. If you were an ass sweater, like if you know this in sports, if you sweat out of your ass like all the time, like you wear the white pants like the Ravens were wearing that night, you could just see bare ass of a grown ass man on the NFL, like on TV. And luckily Nike fixed that, because if that was the case, you would have seen
They would have to blur it.
You would have seen a lot. You would have seen a lot of man that night from the Ravens across the board. Not just the offensive lineman, but like the not just offensive lineman, defensive lineman, corners, and all that kind of stuff. It would have been quite a show for all the children watching at home on Sunday Night Football. So
I could only imagine all the
Nike
phone calls if that had happened. Like, you're showing little Jimmy booty. Well, I don't want my little son to see booty on the TV. It's like, come on, lady. Like, it is what it is. Sometimes you're gonna see booty when it rains. You know what I'm saying? Damian Harris had a nice game. 22 carries, 121 yards.
Yeah, Damian Harris dominated this game. By the way, this is very much a Spider-Man meme game. The Ravens and the Patriots played the same, pretty similar styles of football, except right now with the way things are, whether it's like an injury situation for Cam, Lamar Jackson has been playing, and he's been throwing a lot better this season than Cam Newton has overall. But for the most part, this was two very similar teams playing each other, Martin, and the Patriots out-Raven the Ravens, which is very classic Patriots of them to do to win a football game.
Yeah. Just one
on the streak, by the way. Patriots on the streak. Just saying.
They are. And they are currently third in the AFC East. A couple of games back. Buffalo's 7-3, Miami's 6-3, New England's now 4-5. So watch out. Their schedule, they got the Texans next, so that's a fucking win. Then they got the Cardinals, Chargers, Rams, Dolphins, Bills, Jets. So watch out. We could be seeing Bill Belichick going from tanking for Trevor to going for a Super Bowl run with a team where half their defense is out because of.
I love how everybody instantaneous just like they're back. They're back.
I mean,
there's no question that they're back.
I mean, who's I think the Cardinals are the toughest team they got left. I mean, Dolphins and Bills as well. Who knows?
Cam Newton said, "I'm gonna show these fools who the real dual threat is." Also, don't you guys love how Cam Newton switched teams, but he's still on the same team? He's still on the same kind of team.
Yeah.
Where like he's still on the same team where like he has to make his wide receivers great with his throws. He does not have an elite level tight end like he did with Greg Olsen, but he's on a run heavy team that has like a good chunk of running backs who are like all dual threats except like Sony Michel, who's on IR, and he's on a defense that's up and down good for the most part. So I love how he changed uniforms, but he's on the same team. Yeah, everybody likes the guy who's out here making the killer catches and everything like that. I probably need to do more research on him because it seems like he's the guy that they've chosen. So, I would say the same thing about Harris, but I bet you we won't even remember his name in 2 weeks because that's how the Patriots work.
But
he'll play really
Myers
well
actually
for one
threw a
game
touchdown. So interesting little wrinkle to that one. Ashton, we move on to the Thursday night football game. The Texans, two AFC South rivals, I guess you could call them.
By the way, Martin, the AFC South is wide open. Just
you
wanted to make sure we're all. The AFC South is wide open. I didn't say who has a shot. Everybody does, technically.
There's no
the
AFC
South is wide open.
Texans are winning the division. I'm just
the AFC South is wide open. That's all I'm saying. Continue with your breakdown.
I want the weed that you smoke, dude, because that is some fucking to think that the Texans or any other team other than the Colts,
everybody.
You think the Jaguars have a shot?
I think the Colts are a bad team. That's what I think they are. I think the Colts are a below average team.
You got a lot written down here for this game, so I'll just quickly go through mine. They kind of bounce off of each other. Divisional opponents. So the Colts, obviously, they've seen what the Titans have done over the past couple of years with their offense. They know what the Titans do poorly, and they took advantage of that. And that is the fact that the Titans can't stop scatbacks. They got the ball to Nyheim Hines, who was almost the nuke this week. He just needed one more touchdown, and he would have passed Alvin Kamara. He had 12 carries, 70 yards and a touchdown, 5 catches, 45 yards and a touchdown, Ashton. Nyheim Hines, I think every game he scored this season, he scored 2 touchdowns, and then the rest of them, he's done absolutely fuck all. So shout out to Nyheim Hines, just picking and choosing when he wants to come up. But this one was just a divisional opponent game, and the Colts kind of just ran away. And just, I don't know if the Titans, what they said at halftime, but it didn't fucking work.
So, did you guys know that NFL quarterbacks are really good at throwing the football when they're not pressured? because Phillip Rivers knew that, and that's why he succeeded so much. Also, he threw a shit ton of underneath stuff. Like, you can look at the pass chart, everything was underneath and like below 10 yards. So he had like basically no air yards, and all those pass yards came from yak receptions and everything like that. Phillip Rivers, like I said before, killed the Titans defense on underneath stuff, and then the Colts defense just killed Ryan Tannehill. Like, just killed him, like regular murdered him. The Colts scored 24 unanswered points in this game because the Titans didn't score in the second half, Martin. Yep. I don't know what they said in the locker room, like you said as well, but for the most part, most teams lose games when they don't score for 2 quarters. The Colts had 8 drives, half of them were for over 10 plays. This game, honestly, when you look at the stats, makes no sense because they look really the teams look really similar to each other when you look at the numbers on it, until you look at something that's really important right here. So let's talk about what happened on the money downs, as they like to say in the NFL. Third down, of course, and then the rare fourth down plays. So the Colts were 4-12 on third down. They were 3 of 5 on fourth.
Frank, what's his face, loves analytics.
Which is like Adam Rank. Shout out to him. I can get him on the show. He always
the Colts head coach, Frank, whatever his name is.
Oh, Frank Reich.
Frank Reich.
Yes. Third and fourth down, 4 of 12. Fourth down, 3 of 5. 4 of 12 sounds really bad when you talk about third down until you realize like 5 of those down, like when they had like basically half of their third downs that they got faced with that they failed on, they went for it.
Yep.
So I like to take that stat when it does happen like this and put it on drives kept alive, right? Like, because the third down doesn't turn the ball over, right? So you put them all together, you match the number, and it's drives kept alive. It's 7 of 17. So that's the 7 conversions that they had on third and fourth down, plus the 12 third down attempts and 5 fourth down attempts. All those are drives, and then you get 41%. Almost half of the drives that the Phillip Rivers led Colts had were kept alive.
Yep.
And it gave them an opportunity to score. And they did, for the most part. 34 points. You gotta be moving to be able to do that. When you do that same stat for the Tennessee Titans, they went 3 of 11. So a fourth of their drives that reached the third down or fourth down failed to continue to stay alive. That's more opportunities for the defense. And if you have anything nice to say about the Colts, their defense is probably top 5 in the NFL.
You and I were questioning about it, or like saying like, yeah, look who they've played, but I mean, they kind of shut down.
DeForest Buckner had 4 pressures in this game, Martin. 4 pressures in this game, which is insane for the individual defensive lineman in a singular game. Ridiculous is what they were. They were on some other next level stuff. A.J. Brown dropped a touchdown. That didn't help, right? That's pretty much all we can really say. The Colts went out there. They took what the Titans gave them, which was a lot, and then they shut them down on defense.
Yep.
So yeah, Ryan Tannehill probably hurt. Hopefully he's all right. Anyway, moving on, Martin. There's not too much to say about that one, right?
No,
Lions. Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I only had 2 things to say. Like.
Yeah.
Divisional opponent. It was a divisional opponent game. It was close for a little while, and then one team decided that they just didn't want to score. The Titans are like, you know what? The second half, we'll hold them to 0 points. We don't need to play offense. We'll hold them to 0 points, and it kind of backfired on them. Next game, this one, I don't know how it ended up being so fucking close, Ashton.
Here's a free one. I'll tell you in a second.
Is it because? Oh, I mean, we both know why it ended up being close, but like. I really, one of the things I've loved doing, especially when we've been doing these recaps on Tuesday, is going and looking at the win probability charts.
And then how it like goes up and down, and then like plummets towards one team at the end. Which, by the way, like proves that, like, honestly, guys, like if there's been any stat that's taken the biggest hit this year, it's not even the polls from the election. It is win probability because it means nothing.
like it's pretty weird. So I didn't really see. There wasn't a lot of noon games this week because of the Masters. You and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. That
By the way, Dustin Johnson just shit on Augusta, like negative
20,
20,
yeah,
my
20
guy.
under. Get the fuck out of here, dude. What are you like? Drug test that motherfucker right now. You know what I'm saying?
I need a urine sample
Yeah.
right now. Like.
That's what the MLB and NFL would be doing. Yeah, like you hear it all the time when an NFL player has like DeAndre Hopkins probably had
Like
to go
a punter
piss.
goes out there and
Yeah.
like spears the shit out of a punt returner. And they're like, yeah, we need a piss sample.
Yeah.
Right
So because I don't really enjoy watching the Texans and none of the early games were. I mean, so anyways, I went out and lived my life. Went out with Marissa and her son early Sunday afternoon. So we were
Disrespect to the game.
no. Well, here's the thing. I had the red zone on my phone. I wasn't totally out of it. While we were hanging out at the park, I had the games on and we were eating lunch and stuff. So I was kind of watching. And this game was 24-3 when I turned it off on my phone, and we left. And then when I turned it back on, it was fucking tied with 15 seconds to go in the game. Like, what? It was 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they were up 24-3, and then it's a tie fucking ball game. Like the win probability chart of this game, Ashton, the Lions went from a 98% chance to win with 2 minutes and 20 whatever seconds left in the third quarter to 52.9% with 15 seconds left to go. Like, think about that fucking swing right there, dude. Like, you're going from guaranteed victory to you have a 50% chance at losing in less than 15 minutes of game time. That's how bad the Lions defense.
That's Chargers level shit. That's Chargers level shit.
That's what I thought. Like, what, did Washington actually play Los Angeles this past week, dude? Like,
so, all right, Martin. So, you know what makes all this worse, right? Washington has thrown 3 passing touchdowns in the last 5 games.
That's not good.
They came back in a game to lose 30-27 and threw 0 passing touchdowns in the game.
Yep.
This is hands down the most embarrassing defensive performance from the Detroit Lions. Like, hands without question whatsoever.
And they've got a lot of them recently.
Yes. They've had multiple games where they've allowed teams to come back on them this season. By the way, Matthew Stafford adds another one to his legendary career of game-winning drives.
Yeah,
he got another one. The other thing, if you want to, here's a glimpse of how tired the Detroit Lions defense was. They gave up 34 first downs in this game, Martin.
Washington had 1 3-and-out. If you don't cast it, so like I never count the kneel down as an actual drive. The stat should, like, the fact that you can lose a fantasy week because your quarterback takes a kneel shouldn't fucking be a thing. I'm just gonna put that out there. So I don't count the last drive of, like, if they're taking a kneel down at the end of the first half or to end the game. I don't really count it. So Washington only had 1 3-and-out drive the entire fucking game. And their scoring drives were 9 plays, 11 plays, 11 plays, 6 plays, and then on the game tying drive, 17 play drive.
Like, hey man, I'm not here. To the Detroit Lions out there, the ownership team and everything like that. I'm not here to tell you how to run your team. But I think it's pretty evident that there's something wrong, and it's very specific what's wrong with it. Moving on, Martin. 34 first downs, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Head coach is a defensive mastermind. He won the Super Bowl for the Patriots. Don't forget that he said that. 34 first downs. He just gave up 0 passing touchdowns, but they still came back to lose 30-27 because of a crazy long field goal that Matt Prater was able to make.
And it was, unfortunately, Chase Young. This one's going to be the ones that he's going to want to quickly forget. He had a roughing the passer on that last drive. And basically, everybody that knows Matt Prater, I don't know if Turkey is one of our Twitch viewers is here. He is a big Matt Prater fan. He'll even draft him early in fucking fantasy drafts just to get Matt Prater on his team. He's a big Matt Prater fan. So anybody that knows Matt Prater knows he's got a leg. Like I think at one point he had the longest field goal in the I may be wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure he was at least like had a couple of 60-yarders in him. And so to give the Lions a roughing the passer on that last drive, like it's a rookie mistake. That's all you can put it down to. And a learning experience for Chase Young. Basically on the last drive, just don't even fucking touch the quarterback. It's fucking and here's the other thing. We all know stars, if you consider Matthew Stafford a star, get the benefit of the doubt. As you saw, like Nick Foles in the Monday Night Football game, he didn't get the benefit of the doubt on a couple of the tackles that they put on him. Matthew Stafford will get every fucking borderline call. And so for that to be the reason that they got into
that means the refs like him as a person. It's not even about like him being a quarterback. It's like Matthew Stafford is elite at getting refs to like him as a human being. So on that one, Martin, I think we talked enough about two bad teams playing a football game. Moving on.
Yep.
Packers versus Jaguars.
24-20, as everybody predicted.
So I'll start off here. Life is about timing. Right? Like life is about having good timing sometimes. And some people have the ability to show up right when they're needed and leave right when they're not needed. Timing was very important in how this game shook out. Mm-hmm. The Packers' first three possessions all were punts in this game. So great performance from the defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars. To follow up the timing, coming out of the locker room, all three possessions in the third quarter for the Packers were a fumble return to the Green Bay 16-yard line, which for most, it's guaranteed points. It's either 3 points or a touchdown. For the case of the Jaguars, it was a touchdown. Turnover on downs on the Jacksonville Jaguars 33-yard line, and an interception at the Jacksonville Jaguars 43-yard line. All those were possessions that were in play for a good football team to go out there and be successful. And they cashed in on them to a certain degree. And when I did the math on the turnover math on this one, where you take away the drives that the Jacksonville Jaguars took away, give them to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you take away the drives that the Green Bay Packers took away from the Jaguars and give them to the Packers, the Jacksonville Jaguars had 13 drives, and the Green Bay Packers had 11. And it came down to 3 points to win the game. That's all I got on this one, because that's all about timing. They started off the game hot, and they came out the locker room hot, and it kept them close with the Green Bay Packers. That's all I'll say on that one.
They are an exciting team to watch tank. They keep the games close, but we all know what Jacksonville's doing. I mean, let's see. How many of their losses have been by less than a score so far? 1, 2, 3, 4. Half of their losses have now come within a score. The rest of them kind of been more than a touchdown. But
yeah,
you know what? Hey, and you mentioned it earlier. Jake Luton. Is Gardner Minshew lost his starting position?
Gardner Minshew better be packing his stuff up, get ready to go to Vegas, baby.
Yeah.
Start looking at apartments and everything, because
can't believe you hating on Derek Carr like that, man.
Nah, man, they need a backup.
No, true. Yeah, true.
For now.
Yep.
Moving on. Yep. On that one, I didn't want to waste it. I just wanted to explain like how important timing is, and how important, you start the game off, you get 3 possessions, and you have to end up punting them all the way, and then you come out of the locker room with the scheme all cooked up, and you come up with 3 turnovers.
I can safely say I probably saw 45 seconds of this game.
Did you see the Jacksonville Jaguars doing the Lambeau leap with nobody in the crowd? That was a classic.
I saw that one. I saw Aaron Rodgers try the Lambeau leap, but that was actually on Monday Night Football, so I didn't see it live. This one, if you're a fan of football, or like, I want to know how many people not Packers Jaguars fan have watched every second of this game, because it's probably, you can count it on one hand. We got the next
probably
game.
The people who took that 13.5 bet, 13.5 points
Yep.
For the Jack, by the way, they didn't cover. In case
Yeah,
you
they
were
didn't
wondering.
cover, and they went under on the over/under of 47. So shout
Which,
out to
by the way,
people
happened
betting
in the
unders.
Texans game versus the Browns.
Hey,
They went.
yeah, that was my nice thing to say about the
Wait.
Texans. They covered. Like the sign of a good coach, Romeo Crennel. He
Y'all
covered.
wrong, man. Y'all wrong, man.
Next game on the list, Ashton, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina
Our precious
Panthers.
Our precious Panthers.
Our reverse jinx again didn't work.
Yeah. Maybe we should just start Teddy, what do you want from us?
I don't know.
By the way, Teddy's hurt, so that's bad news.
Oh, we got PJ making his first start most likely this week. So
PJ Walker, Houston Roughnecks.
Yep.
H-Town hold it down. But yeah, the Buccaneers, apparently they're good at football again.
Yeah, this was just like Aaron Rodgers did against the Texans after their embarrassing loss. Brady is like, yeah, I've never had two bad games, back-to-back games my entire career. It ain't happening right now, even though I'm almost 50 years old. 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ronald Jones Jr., I'd give you a kiss on the side of your head because you're on my fantasy team, and your 98-yard touchdown run is the reason I won this past week. Thank you, Rojo. You're the man. Continue doing what you're doing. Hopefully you have many more 98-yard runs in you. I mean, here's the thing. The Buccaneers were on the road, right, Ashton? They were playing in Carolina. Ronald Jones said he looked up at the Jumbotron to see how close the next person was. PSA to every home team when there is an opponent.
There are teams that do that. There's teams that do that. They shut it off. Yeah,
don't
they
show it.
Yeah.
Like you can't give him any advantage. Like
because you make him turn his head and that slows him. No, like there's a sports science episode about that where it's like how much it slows you down if you turn your head and look to either side for like how close an opponent is. It slows you down because your brain if your brain like naturally, like if you turn your head to the left or you turn your head to the right, it slows you down like significantly, especially if you were like at top speed or whatever. So but hey, 98 yards not too bad.
Yeah.
Everybody got in on the shit kicking of the Panthers though.
544 total yards to 187. Just one of those games.
They went office space on them.
Yeah,
sure. Just office space on them with the baseball bat.
Yeah, just taking out all their anger from last week in the 38-3 throbbing that they took, and we're just like, fuck you, like you. Like, it's one of those things where like, oh man, like no CMC. Everyone was hyping up Mike Davis. He didn't really do anything. Nobody besides DJ Moore wanted to catch the ball, apparently, for the Carolina Panthers. Just one of those games. One of those games where if you're a Panthers fan or a Panthers player, you're just like, do we really have to watch? Or if you're a Panthers player, you're probably like, do we really have to watch the film? Like, do we really need to sit here and, like, we know what happened. Like,
we were there. We were there.
Yeah,
an assault. I swear, Coach, I swear they had 17 dudes on the field. Did y'all count? Yeah, they count literally before every snap, man. You sure? Did they count? Did they count right though? Did they count? He's like, I swear it was 17 of them out there.
Actually,
anyway,
the Panthers are on a 5-game losing streak. Since they went to 3-2, we're not going to talk about it.
Context is important.
We're sorry, Carolina. We're hand over heart. We are sorry for what we have done to your season.
Right. We started paying attention to them, and then they started losing. We are sorry. Also, like, the Buccaneers played like the inconsistency of the Buccaneers is going to do them in.
Yeah.
It is going to be their downfall. It is going to be the thing that, and by the way, Martin, not a hot take, lukewarm take. Buccaneers are only front runners. They can't hang with teams that are like on the same skill level as them, or teams that get ahead of them by like 10 points or whatever. And the only time they've done it this season is when they played against the Packers. So, and that was because of some crazy amount of pressure that I don't think they've dialed up since. They had like 67% of dropbacks from Aaron Rodgers be pressured, which is of course extremely difficult. Moving on. Two bad teams played football again, Martin. It was the Giants versus the Eagles, and as I suspected, the Giants are actually better than the Eagles. And this goes to a question that was asked. This is Khalif Piper, who follows me on Facebook. He said, who is the team in the NFC East that's crawling their way to the top?
I'm gonna say the Giants.
I'm gonna call it Martin. It's the Giants.
It's the Giants.
Giants are going to the playoffs, guys.
Yeah, I think of the 4 teams, they have the best defense. And
they're the only team that's getting better.
Yeah.
They're the only team that's getting better every single week. So, and that's saying a lot. It takes a lot to get better.
They're on a 2-game winning streak, Ashton. Like,
and really, it could have been a 3-game winning streak if it were not for that crazy, like Antoine Winfield with the great defensive play at the end of that game.
Also, so they're the past 5 games, they beat the Washington by 1. Then they lost by 1 to the Eagles, lost by 2 to the Bucks, and then the recent 2-game win streak. They are they're 4 points away from being on a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Nobody else in the NFC East can say that.
This is another thing too. This is Patricia Traina, who covers the Giants. You should follow her on Twitter. She's a really good follow. She's like deep into the Giants, no matter how good or bad they are. She works for Sports Illustrated, and she did a whole breakdown of the 5 things that the Giants have just completely flipped from the first 5 games to the last 5 games. And it's like their yards per play is up an entire yard. Their completion percentage is up 5%. So they went from 61% completion percentage to 66, which is huge. And then their running game, they went from, Martin, get this, 79 yards per game to 142.
Yeah, they're figuring it out.
And of course, Daniel Jones, dual threat quarterback, ladies and gentlemen.
More dual threat than fucking Josh Allen. I'll put it out there.
Sometimes he is. Sometimes, because if we're doing a spectrum, right, guys? Like if we're doing a spectrum of like run, pass, and they're on the opposite sides, the dual threats are supposed to be as close to the middle as they possibly can to be the true dual threat. And we can sit here and say like Russell Wilson is probably like the perfect version of a dual threat quarterback when it's all said and done. It's hard to fight for that balance all the time, but Lamar Jackson is closer to the run side, but still pretty close to the middle. Kyler Murray's closer to the run side, but still pretty close to the middle. Josh Allen closer to the run side, still very close to the middle. Daniel Jones, he's far on the left-hand side with the running part of it because he's very clearly good at running the football. But yeah, that and a third down conversion percentage, they have gone up 1%. They went up 0.04%. So I mean, that's
really
different.
Glad. Oh, go ahead.
And their points per game, they've gone up almost 10 points per game, dude. Like they're a lot better.
Yeah,
they're playing so much better.
Something
and maybe it's
clicked.
Because of the opponent. Yeah, and maybe it's, of course, an opponent, but like their defensive performances, we've been seeing it for a while now. They've been playing a lot better. The reason they've been playing so much better is because they've been getting fucking pressure on quarterbacks, no matter who they are. Like they got a lot of pressure on Tom Brady, and that's what kept that game so close. And they've been forcing turnovers. James Bradbury, got to point out and pay attention to. By the way, the whole DeAndre Baker thing is insane, where he was getting extorted by 3 people and a lawyer, where they were pretending that he robbed them. By the way, I hope those guys go to jail. Also, apparently, DeAndre Baker signing with the Chiefs. Who would have thought?
Of course. You mentioned third down a minute ago and how well the Giants have been doing. Could you just take a random guess of how the Eagles did on third down in this game?
0 for 9?
Yep. Right on the fucking... Yeah. Not a single third down converted in 4 quarters.
I heard and I saw the highlights. Most of the highlights was Carson Wentz running away from motherfuckers.
Right.
Like, they was, oh my God, man. Like, and that's coming off a bye week. So,
yeah, not good. When
it is amazing how like Matt Nagy and so many of these other like genius level coaches that we've been talking about, and like, of course, like, just like not even, it's just like literally a couple years later, now they're all like, they're facing adversity like they've never faced before, and their solution is having better personnel, which they have not done. Like they don't have better personnel. Like the Eagles are worse than they were when Jordan Peterson showed up the first time. Like same thing with the Bears. Like the Bears are like roster wise have gotten worse.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Fuck Matt Nagy. I can't stand that guy. Next up on
Matt Nagy. We don't know you. We don't know you as a person. Martin doesn't like your coaching style.
It's terrible. Like, on a scale of just fucking god-awful to bad, he's closer to god-awful than he is to bad. Like, it is... watching the Bears offense...
By the way, they scored 0 points in the fourth quarter on Monday Night Football again. So,
bro, it's ridiculous. We're going to get to Mr.
Yeah,
Monday
we're
Night
almost done.
himself.
Martin,
And
we're
Derek,
about to get under 2.5 hours here. If we do this, if we time this right, we're about to get under 2.5 hours here. So like your Matt Nagy rant that we do every single week, maybe we pass up on that one for this week.
Next up, Tua is now 3-0. Ashton, as the Dolphins beat the Chargers 29-21.
You know what that means, Martin? You know what that means, baby?
He's the greatest quarterback ever.
He's the right decision. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Justin Herbert was the wrong decision. Tua was the right decision the whole time. No matter what the situation is, no context. There's no whole like Justin Herbert's on a better roster that's underperforming to the talent, and there's no like Tua's on a worse roster than what the Chargers have, and they're overperforming to their talent. It's almost like there's no nuance to the situation whatsoever. But to his credit, Justin Herbert played a very average game. Yep. For the first time this entire season. For the first time this entire season, they played an average game. The Dolphins, 29 points. Martin, I think they're on a 5-game win streak, dude.
Yeah, they figured something out. The coaching staff, the players, they all.
Brian Flores right now looking like the best leaf on the Bill Belichick, the best branch on the Bill Belichick tree.
Yeah, so far, I mean, both sides of the ball. I've been high on the Dolphins defense since before the season started, and their offense, they don't have the flashy names. They don't have a Julio Jones, a DeAndre Hopkins. They have, their best wide receiver is Devontae Parker, and some people.
He's very good when he plays.
Yeah, I've had him on my fantasy teams for years. This is the first year that I didn't fucking draft Devontae Parker. For those that care, they had Jakeem Grant. 4 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown.
By the way, Hakeem Grant, one of the greatest products to come out of the TV show Undrafted that the NFL Network used to do. He got drafted to the Dolphins, and he signed an extension during the offseason. And if you don't know what Hakeem Grant's thing is, he's the greatest wide receiver in the history of Texas Tech. Yep. Straight up, like by the numbers. He runs a 4.12 40 or something like that. He didn't get an invite to the combine. Yeah, he's 5'7", and you can definitely see that on the field. He plays kick returner, punt returner for them, and one of the best stories in the NFL. One of those things where it's like speed kills, and he got plenty of the speed, and he's gotten better as he's played longer in the NFL, which is of course what you would exactly want, right?
Yep.
So shout out to Hakeem Grant once again, proving that it just takes a little hard work sometimes to stick around. But yeah, man, Tua. By the way, saw Tua running. Saw a photo of Tua. They caught him at that right angle. Bicep was popping a little bit. Had the legs he had the legs up. The calf muscle was kind of popping through the old school socks. I was like, that don't look like a man who broke his hip last year.
Nope.
So
shout out to those uniforms they wore. They were fucking clean. If you had
everybody's trying to talk about getting the throwback uniforms to be the regular uniforms, I was like, then they're not throwbacks anymore, guys.
Exactly.
They're just the uniforms.
Yep.
They're just the uniforms. We don't.
If anybody,
the color rush was really bad because they went with like the creamsicle orange. Remember those? Yep. I have the hat. That's where I got the hat from, by the way, that I wore that one time on the show. That's the color rush hat.
Yep.
Because the uniform is just that bad.
Anybody that had Salvin Ahmed on their team, this fantasy team this past week, congratulations. You are a better fantasy player than Ashton or I because, can you name what fucking school he went to?
Ooh, is it a big school?
Sort of.
Oh, Boise State.
Close. Washington.
Damn.
Right area of the country.
Sort of a big school?
Yeah.
Washington's a major Pac-12 school. By the way,
where are we gonna?
by the way, baby, college football is imploding and nobody's talking about it. Anyway, moving on.
I would say Washington is kind of a big, they're not.
Washington is a major brand.
Okay, they went to didn't they go to the college playoff one year? Or did they almost make it?
They definitely went.
Yeah.
By the way, like the disrespect you just threw on the Huskies right now, like gosh, man.
I mean, no disrespect, but as somebody that cheers for an SEC team, Washington is low on the totem pole. You know what I'm saying?
Washington's one of the better Pac-12 schools the past couple of years,
sure.
But
anything else in this game, Ashton? Chargers didn't play too well. The Dolphins won by 8.
Anybody get hurt? I don't think so. No, I don't remember anybody getting hurt off the top of my head. But yeah, the Dolphins are playing. They on some other stuff, so y'all might want to start getting on that research so you can pretend that you knew the whole time that they were a good football team.
Yeah.
So,
Ashton and I will be standing on our mountain of knowing. What?
Other thing, I implore you once again, go find that Peter King episode where he talks to Brian Flores. It will put you to sleep But Brian Flores' story for how he got to the NFL, like his parents' backstory, how he got to America, how he got to the NFL, how he ended up the head coach of the Miami Dolphins is amazing. It is astounding because it is the American dream. Like he literally is the American dream. So yeah, check that out if you want to be inspired. So moving on.
Yeah, next on the list, Las Vegas.
We can move on from this game too.
Las Vegas 37, Denver 12.
I got. Hey, Mark, can I do this one? Can I
Go
do
for
this?
it.
4 interceptions are really bad, guys.
Yep.
5 turnovers is even worse because he had a fumble too. The Raiders more than doubled the number of turnovers they had coming into this game in this game alone. They also added another fumble to their tally. They now have a positive turnover differential. They are +1 on the season. So the Broncos.
By the way,
yeah, go ahead.
Drew Lock has a severe strain and bruising of his ribs. Maybe that's why he threw 4 interceptions.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. But he had 5. They had 5 turnovers in this game, Martin, and each one they had a turnover every single quarter.
That takes some skill to do.
And 2 in the fourth. So obviously Drew Lock was hurting bad, and they probably couldn't hit him with anything on the sideline. He probably would have had to gone in like the back or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, so I did the math on this one. This will put it in perspective, 37-12. It'll also give you an idea of how good the Raiders are not. You do the turnover math where you take the possessions away that were taken away by the Raiders and give them to the Raiders, and the ones that were taken away by the Broncos and give them to the Broncos. The Raiders had 18 drives to the Broncos 7.
Mm-hmm. And Philip Lindsay touched the ball 4 times.
No, they had twice as many drives for sure. Yeah, crazy.
The Broncos can't figure out the fucking rushing attack. 1 week Philip Lindsay touches the ball a bunch. The next week he comes back, and it's like I don't get it. I
love it.
I do love the fact that I traded him for Brandon Cooks. So I mean, it is what it is. But at the same time, like you got Melvin Gordon going 11 for 46. Like it's not working, like at all.
Yeah, I mean,
But like I've said, they have a terrible offensive line, and they are continuing to try and get their best draft position to get the best offensive lineman available in the draft. That's all I have to say about this.
Every wide receiver they have is hurt except Jerry Jeudy. Yeah. So, yeah.
Moving on. Saints 27, 49ers 13. Drew Brees has 57 broken ribs, a collapsed lung, and the Saints still ended up winning.
Martin, you know what that means. It's time. I've made this joke on this podcast before about how Jameis Winston is truly the physical embodiment of chaos. Mm-hmm. And ladies and gentlemen, what we can only hope is that Jameis Winston coming in a little bit over halfway through the season not only signifies what we all hope it means. The classics are back. Famous Jameis will once again flurry us with his great feats of somehow being great and terrible at the same time. Let the chaos begin. That's what I want.
It's time. Yeah, this was the Alvin Kamara show, Ashton, with or without Drew Brees. They kept giving him the ball. He touched the ball 15 times in this game. Jerick McKinnon was the only person that touched the ball more at 18, but he only had 33 yards and didn't do fuck all with it. Or he actually had 19. He caught a pass.
By the way, like the run game. By the way, if you haven't been paying attention, outside of Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, who else? Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Everybody else is running back by committee, and it's not working for them. Like literally, if you go look at look at these two teams, like the Saints, you said Alvin Kamara, 49ers, they've been trying to, but of course, like Raheem Mostert's out for the entire season, right? He got hurt. Luckily for him, he signed his deal in the offseason to get that big money because his agent was like real insistent upon it. But that happened. Plus, Tevin Coleman's back, supposedly. How many carries did he have in this game? I didn't see him switch out because
he didn't touch the ball. He did not.
Yep.
He did not register anything to be in the stat sheet.
So supposedly he was healthy, and they said that he was going to play, and he actually didn't. So that happened. They've got that whole running back by committee thing going on for them. The Ravens, they have J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram, and Gus the Bus Edwards out there. The Patriots are running 3 guys. The Colts are running 3 guys. The Titans are running Deonta Foreman and Derrick Henry, of course. So that's 2, but it's really mostly Derrick Henry percentage-wise. The Packers are still running. They were running, of course, Aaron Jones, but they got like other guys that they rotate in and out. The Bears are trying to run 3 guys out there. They would be running more if they had Tariq Cohen healthy, but they don't.
Yeah, it's the Cordell Patterson game, rushing attack.
Cordell Patterson is the most effective offensive player they had on their team on Monday Night Football. So, yeah, no offense to Cordell Patterson, but yeah. By the way,
Saints
y'all still
apparently
kicking
fumbled
it
it 5 times. By the way, they recovered 2 of them, but they lost 2 of them. But 5 fumbles, not good.
So yeah, Drew Brees is hurt, like big time hurt, like multiple ribs broken on both sides of his rib cage. Everybody saw that video on Twitter. If you're a social media person, or if you are one of those weird people who looks at memes on Facebook, who looks at football memes on Facebook?
Nobody.
Anyway, moving on. So they had that situation where the defensive tackle for the 49ers, like, didn't even crush Drew Brees. He fell to the side of him. And apparently that was part of like what messed his whole, punctured his lung and broke multiple ribs or whatever, just to give you an idea of how hard NFL hits are, ladies and gentlemen. Like, Drew Brees is above the like, remember that happened to Drew Brees. Like, those multiple ribs were broken, his lung was punctured, and what was he doing, Martin, in the back half of that game? On the sideline with his helmet, pissed off that he wasn't in the game.
Well, apparently, didn't he play another one play after
he
getting
played
hurt?
He played like one more series, and then Jameis came in for one more play, and then everybody thought like, oh, he just came in for like a trick play with Taysom Hill, and then he came out for like the rest of the game. By the way, he looked skittish in that pocket. And maybe because the 49. Yeah, Jameis was shook. And
he didn't throw an interception. Positive.
He almost threw a touchdown, and I was like, "Oh yes, that's what I need. That's what I need right there. That sweet feeling of success for Jameis, so that he can feel really, really positive about risking the ball further downfield next possession." Anyway, that's all I got on that one, man. Sucks for the 49ers, but you already know what time it was when Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard are your best options, and the Saints looked very unimpressive.
Yeah, the Saints were 2 of 12 on 3rd down and won 27-13. That's how
life works.
That's how weird of a game this one was. The 49ers were actually 7 of 16. Holy shit.
See, the weird thing is, like, you watch Nick, like, see, the thing is, like, if you know what the deal is, CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins, they can play well for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot play well for an indefinite amount of time, which is what they have set up for Jimmy G to come back on. Hopefully somebody out there is making sure that his ankle is all nice and he's not getting any pressure put on it, and that he's all nice and relaxed. I'm assuming some massage oil is involved and some big boobs. Jimmy G, shout out to you, bro.
Yeah, isn't he dating a porn star still?
I don't know. You never know, man. He's big time. He's out in San Francisco. He's in California. He's living his best life. Like, why you got to put labels on things, bro?
Oh, I'm not hating or anything.
I'm just kidding. It's just like how nobody really makes a big deal about Deshaun Watson being cool with Mia Khalifa all the time. So, by the way, Mia Khalifa apparently good at picking football winners. Like, she's good at gambling money. So,
yeah. There's another. I'll talk to you about it later.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. It's Who's the MILF lady?
No. I was gonna talk that Amanda chick on Instagram that's like kind of went viral at the beginning of the season. Who? She's like, her picks. I'll talk to you about it off camera.
Okay.
But her pick, like, if you follow her, she is killing it in her picks this season. Like, I'm talking.
Okay.
Like if you want somebody to pick winners for you, hit me up on @MartinPape_, and I'll direct you to where this chick is on Instagram, because
I'll direct you to her OnlyFans account where she just handicaps games. That would be so funny.
Oh, dude, that would be perfect.
If she does like videos and handicaps games, like that's what people are here for. Like, all of her videos where she's like naked and like masturbating into the camera have like such low views or whatever, and then her picks videos have like 10,000 people looking at them. I love it. I love it. So I hope that. By the way, shout out to her getting her money. Get that cash in your pocket, young lady.
I don't know.
Do your thing.
I don't know if this chick is. I don't know if she has an OnlyFans.
This is just some random girl on the internet that Martin knows. This is not even like a famous porn star.
No, she went viral at the start of the year for. I'll tell you off. Nobody listening right now wants to hear about this. They want to hear our breakdown of the amazing Monday Night Football game that put me to sleep. Hey,
man,
Kirk Cousins finally. Kirk Cousins.
They let the
finally.
Bears let Kirk Cousins cook them. They really did. They let him go out there. And by the way, like if you look at it when it was all said and done, like overall, like throughout the course of the game, Kirk Cousins had some really good plays, but he also had like some really bad consecutive plays and some drives that just didn't pan out. The Bears just have no offense to respond when you go 3 and out.
Yeah.
They're like, what? We weren't expecting to be on the field this soon. We would like to go back to the sideline very quickly. But yeah, no, the Kirk Cousins was killing them. Dalvin Cook didn't even have over 100 yards rushing in this game.
Yep.
He was cooking them up out there. Justin Jefferson by the way, Justin Jefferson played very violently throughout this game, and it showed. He was, every time he had one play where he had ran an inside slant. They're trying to stop him from getting a first down. He stayed up and ducked his shoulder and drove through 2 defensive backs, and then they tried to get into a fight with him. And I was like, oh no, you don't get to fight the dude who ran 2 of your guys over.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Kirk Cousins was 0-9 on Monday Night Football coming into this. They showed that graph. Speaking of Office Space, they showed that graphic of him beating the TV at least 10 fucking times. At least 10 fucking times. He finally did it.
Martin, they spent a lot of money on that graphic. They're going to get their money's worth out of it.
They better. You saw how much this win on Monday Night Football meant to Kirk Cousins on the last drive when they got a first down, and he celebrated like they just won the fucking Super Bowl. Like, it was one of those games that was like, Kirk Cousins was not about to lose 10 games in a row on Monday Night Football. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is tired of hearing how bad he is in prime time, and unfortunately, one win's not going to change the perception that he. And I think you actually talked about it at one point, maybe before the season even started, or one of the last primetime games. He has a routine, and the fact that his routine is totally off when they play at night, and I'm pretty sure you brought that up, didn't you?
It's the stupid dad joke thing that they keep. It's the whole Kirk Cousins is America's dad, and when you play on Monday Night Football, it's past his bedtime, and he doesn't like that.
Yep.
So that's dumb. But it is funny because it kind of pans out a little bit. It kind of pans out.
I don't want to be too mean on the Chicago Bears. They have a really good defense, and I feel so bad for the Chicago Bears.
They won the
defense.
turnover battle. Martin, what are you talking about? They won the turnover battle. It does suck. Nick Foles is hurt, and apparently, Mitch Trubisky wasn't even active last night.
Yeah, he hurt his shoulder in the one play he ran last week. They ran a quarterback sweep with him, and he hurt his shoulder. And so now Mitch Trubisky's completely out. They got a guy named Tyler Bray who came in on the last drive, went 1 for 5, 18 yards. Matt Nagy, how you still have a job, I don't know.
Shout out to Matt Nagy for trying to figure it out. It's a tough season. It's tough for everybody in America. And, if you're a Bears fan, by the way, the Bears just went to 5-5. So
yeah. 2 of 11 on third down.
They don't have a losing record yet. So
it's ridiculous.
By the way,
they're the worst 5-5 team ever.
You look at the teams that are 6-3. Martin, did you see that graphic where it's the Titans, the Colts, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Bills are all 6-3 or something like that? And it's just wow, all these teams look the same, but they are in very different places in the season. It is, and that's the football, baby. I did a stat breakdown on this one, so I'm gonna read it off because I actually went through and did the work on this and did the math to go along with it. Kirk Cousins had 25 completions. 11 of those 25 completions were over 10 yards. 4 of those were over 20 yards. He even had a 54-yard bomb in this game. So for those people who be trying to talk smack on Kirk Cousins about how he doesn't throw the ball deep down the field, he did in this game. And I've never seen the Bears defense look worse. That was probably the worst defensive performance I've seen out of the Bears this entire season. It may also be a direct correlation to how the Bears offense played. The Bears did the following in response to the 19 points the Vikings are throwing up on them and Kirk Cousins cooking them up. They had 2 field goals. They had one following a 70-yard drive, Martin, that ended up in 3 points. Yep. 3 points. They had 5 punts, an interception, and 2 turnovers on down.
It's at the end of the brutal, game. Dude. I feel bad for Bears fans. We're Texans fans, but dude, it's fucking bad for the Bears. You have no hope. You're 5-5 and have no fucking hope because Matt Nagy doesn't know how to fucking coach and call. I mean, he wasn't even calling the plays in this game. and you couldn't fucking tell.
And you saw that, Martin. He hit him with the old Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Where, like, if you remember when Mike McCarthy, when he was the head coach of the Packers, his old move was like, when things were going wrong, he would be like, I'm relieving myself of play calling duties because clearly I'm not in the right headspace to make this team successful. And then when things were going wrong, they would do well, and then things would go wrong and be like, I'm taking back play calling duties because I'm the one that's going to lead this team. And if we're going to go down, we're going to go down off of my play calls and no one else's. And then when things go wrong again, I'm relieving myself of play calling duties because clearly I'm not the one that's meant to lead the team. I need to be a head coach that uses that looks at the bigger picture throughout the course of the game. So anyway,
the Bears had 149 total yards on Monday Night Football. If we remember that thing we did on the breakdown,
their points came off special teams plays.
Cordell
half of their
Patterson.
Points came off of a kick return, 104-yard kick return.
Yeah, Cordell Patterson. Ties Devin Hester.
Yes, in the most Bears thing of all time.
Yeah, tied Devin Hester.
The source of their offense is special teams.
Yep. Most returns in NFL history. It was a nice one to watch. He made it look easy. He did the Tyreek Hill putting up the peace sign as he was about 35 yards out because no one was catching him.
Choke up the deuce for the North and the South. R.I.P. DJ Screw.
Know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Bears stink, or at least the Bears offense stinks. The Bears coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball stinks. Their defense is good. Justin Jefferson still continues to put his name in there.
135 yards for the young man.
I mean, how many 100-yard games has he had so far?
I want to say it's 3. He got shut down in like a couple of them.
4. He's had 400-yard games. So he's not scoring. He's doing the Julio Jones things where he gets a lot of yards but doesn't score the touchdowns. But he's a rookie, and Julio Jones.
All the teams that try and put him in man-to-man coverage, man, they asking for it, and it's a lot of them out there for some reason. So couldn't be me.
Well, he was also the 8th wide receiver taken or whatever in the first round, and he's outperforming everybody from the first round.
I think those are, and if you look at those other guys, I think it's because of their quarterback situation.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, Kirk Cousins is.
But like Kirk Cousins is the best of those quarterbacks that all those players went to. Like Kirk Cousins, like Jerry Jeudy is playing for the Broncos, right? And Kirk Cousins is way better than Drew Lock, like a lot better. So remember, we can sit here and talk about how Kirk Cousins is not elite, but we're not going to sit here and try and pretend that he's not at the very least average.
Yeah,
Ashton, people in the NFL would kill for average, Martin. You know that.
Yeah. We're going over 2.5 hours of this one.
Just slightly, man.
Slightly.
But we're done.
Yeah, we're done. That's it. Thank you to Brooke Pryor for coming on to the show. Go ahead and give her a follow at BE Pryor. That's PRYOR. Great conversation. I always like getting into the heads of beat reporters and stuff like that. And she seems to be having an absolute blast covering the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout out to her.
She said she had a good. She texted me back. I texted her, "Thank you for coming on the show." She said she had a ton of fun. That's what we're here for, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. We're here to get rich because we need to get one step closer to that sweet $100 million podcasting contract. But on top of that, we're here to have fun, most importantly.
Yeah, have a blast each and every week. I love Ashton and I give each other shit so much for both of our takes. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. Most of the time, we'll own up to when we're wrong. Ashton more than I, except when he comes to the Texans. But if you like to be right more than being wrong, go ahead and download the Thrive Fantasy app for the over and under on just about a lot of the players in the NFL. If you think Alvin Kamara is going to put up 120.5 rushing receiving yards, you can bet the over. If you think he's going to go down with Jameis Winston at the helm now, go ahead and bet the under. Patrick Mahomes, he had a bye week this past week, Ashton, but he's going to come back firing in Week 11. Tune in for our Week 11 coverage on Thursday's episode. We're going to be talking what's popping, best of the best, worst of the worst. But if you do download Thrive Fantasy, make sure to use the code BROKEBOY. And when you put $20 down, you'll get $20 right back. We've only got one thing left to do, and that's for Ashton to take us out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it took us to the end of the show to mention the day. It's November 17th, Tuesday of the year 2020, and cases is up. Cases way up, my people. So what I need you to do is I need you to lean into the I need you to lean into the speaker or whatever you're using to lean into your headphones. Listen to this very, very closely. Wash your hands. Wash your ass. I would prefer, if you can, if you're capable of doing it, wash your entire body. But most importantly, of all the things I just said, besides washing your hands and your ass, stay home, Roger.